Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept the humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Summit Vaishnava devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here as always. Today is the fourth day of the 5-day marathon of the genesis of Hare Krishna movement, or Iskcon, how it was organized and established in West Africa, how the whole movement started. And we've been able to have amazing devotees speak to us for the first 3 days. Today is the fourth day. Tomorrow will be the last day. And today we are very much blessed also. We have Her Grace, Mother VRAJALILA Devi, ARCANA Das PRABHU, and His Grace SRIMAN VARAHA Acharya. So, what else can we ask for? So Mother VRAJALILA, of course, needs no introduction. Apart from speaking today, she's been so gracious that she's been here almost every single month for the past almost 5 years, speaking Bhagavatam with us. So Mother VRAJALILA, you're very much welcome, and you may begin to share. We all know that you're one of the early devotees that traveled to West Africa and helped spread and establish Krishna consciousness in West Africa. So the floor is open. You may begin. Hare Krishna.
Haribo, thank you very much, Sahadev Prabhu. And thank you to all the devotees that are here today. Saha, I have some slides I'd like to show, not right now. So if you can make me a co-host, that way I can show the slides when I get ready to show them.
Yes, you will be, yes, you'll be able to do that.
Okay. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktitirtha Swami Iti Namane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shitatmane Shri Gaura Karna Shakti Bhaktitirtha Iti Namane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Esha Sunyavadi Pasatyadi Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Hare. So our theme is the genesis of Iskcon West Africa. And so I understand that Genesis means the beginning of how the movement in West Africa was expanded under the guidance of His Holiness Brahmananda Swami, and also at the time he was a Swami, and also His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. So I also understood when I was invited that I was to share a little bit of my backstory of how I came to Krishna consciousness. So I will share a little of that first, and then I'll show some slides. So it'll be like a two-part presentation. And just so we can move through it really quickly, I've made some notes so I don't have to stop and think about things. And so you'll see me from time to time looking down because I'm checking back with my notes that I wrote. And I also would like to say a prayer, a personal prayer, before I start speaking. So if I can please share this prayer with everyone. My dear Lord Krishna and my beloved spiritual master, with a humble heart, I pray to be shielded from the grievous offense of Vaishnava aparat. Grant me the vision to see the Lord within every devotee and the strength to always treat them with utmost respect, love, and reverence. Please purify my intentions and guide me to always serve the devotees with a pure and selfless heart. And so, my dear devotees, just speaking about this glorious invitation that we received from His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami and how that journey started for me. And so I'll start with my personal background, which is I'll just go back to 1978, which is when I believe my journey in Bhakti started. So I was ending my university stint in one country, in one city, which was San Francisco, California, and I moved to New York. And in New York, I had many friends that were playwrights and musicians and artists. And so those were the people I was around a lot. And one day, one of those persons, one of my friends, shared with me, because they knew I was a vegetarian, that they had a friend. And that friend, that he was also some kind of a practitioner. They didn't actually know the exact path. However, they knew that that person was a spiritual practitioner. And they thought that maybe I would benefit, from speaking with that person, especially about vegetarianism. I had been a vegetarian for quite some time. I lived in California. Many Californians were spiritualists, and also they were vegetarians. I was actually a disciple of Muktananda when I came to New York. And so I would regularly go to the ashram. I was worshiping Lord Shiva very seriously, very diligently, and actually received what is called Shaktipat from my spiritual master at the time, Muktananda. And he gave me Shaktipat, which is an initiation of some sort, in my ear. And at that time, he gave me the Maha Mantra in my ear. I didn't know the Maha Mantra because I was chanting Om Namah Shivaya Namaha. And I kept thinking, why did he give me that? And it was supposed to be a secret. We weren't supposed to speak about it, so I didn't. So that was kind of like the initial introduction unaware to me. And then I met this person I will go back and forth saying Ikendra and Mukunda. I'm not in any way wanting to be offensive. I just remember him a lot as Ikendra. And so I met him. This was in 1979 when I met Ikendra. And he introduced me to 3 really important life-changing moments for me in my life. Firstly, I had an apartment. I was still a student of some sort. I was still a student, and I was also working. But however, I was a spiritual practitioner, so I had an altar. And on my altar, I had a picture of Lord Shiva, my spiritual master at the time, and also I was chanting Om Namah Shivaya every day, and I was very serious in my practice. And so when I met Ikendra, we talked, about vegetarianism. And the important thing that he did in my life at that time was he gave me a cassette tape. And he said, when you're doing your sadhana in the morning, when you're doing your prayers, listen to this tape, listen to this cassette tape. So I would play that tape every morning, only to learn later, much later, that was Jamuna Devi chanting the Govindam prayers. I didn't know that at the time. So that was very much a part of my journey, my bhakti journey. And then again, because I was a vegetarian, he would regularly take me to the Govinda's restaurant, which was downstairs of the New York Temple. And I was really happy because coming back to New York, I didn't know so many. I'm from New York. However, I'd been gone to California for some time. I didn't know many vegetarian restaurants. And so it was really nice to be introduced to a vegetarian restaurant. However, I could understand that the people that were there were on a different path. And I wasn't interested in the path because I already had my path. And Ikendra also at the time, didn't really, say much. He took me to the restaurant. He was very kind. He was very nice. We would talk about spiritual things, but never really so much tried to, other than giving me that tape every day. I would listen to it. He wasn't like a proselytizer. He wasn't someone that was trying to make me a devotee. And so, however, he did used to speak to me about this Swami that, that he had a lot of appreciation for. And I remember that. And because he knew that I understood, um, you know, some things about the ashrams, I understood what it meant to be a Swami for sure. And he would speak with so much appreciation about this person. So one day that person was visiting the restaurant and he was very excited. And he told me, the Swami that I've been telling you about, he's going to be at the restaurant and I really want you to meet him. I was kind of a little nonchalant. It's like, okay. As I said, I had my spiritual master. I was very dedicated to my path, my friends. And so I went, though. We were at the restaurant, and the person turned out, of course, to be my revered Guru Maharaj. However, I went with him to this part of the restaurant to meet this Swami, this person. And at that time, that Swami was surrounded with a lot of people. There were so many people around him because apparently he had just taken sannyas. This was in 1979. And so I thought, that's too much to wait around because he wanted me to personally meet the Swami. And I told him I couldn't do that. I didn't want to. I said, no, I don't want to. Yeah, no, it's too many people and like that. So we left. I didn't meet the Swami. So that was the beginning of some unfoldments that were to happen, designed by the Lord, designed by the Lord's devotees. And so I was continuing to frequent the vegetarian restaurant. We continued going to the Govindas. I didn't think anything about the fact that I'd missed that Swami. However, he always spoke about the Swami to me. I remember that. One day I was at the restaurant and there was a lot of commotion upstairs. I was downstairs in the restaurant, lots of commotion. So I came upstairs to see what was all the commotion. And Satsvarup Maharaj was visiting the temple. He was visiting and he had a big entourage with him and it was a lot going on. And they all went into that temple room. And the temple room at that time, had a huge door. And it appeared like it was a very private place. And I actually never wanted to go in there before. However, that specific day, I remember this lady, and maybe Kendra remember her name. I just remember she kept persisting to me. I think her name was Shamaka or something like that. Anyway, was persisting. You must go in. You must go inside. You must go inside. You must go inside. And I was like, nah, I'm not interested. In any case, she was so persistent that I did go inside the temple. And I remember my first attention, my first attraction when I walked into the temple room was firstly, I saw all this incense. They were burning this. I learned later they were burning frankincense incense. And the temple was smoky. And I was like, but it smelled good. And I was thinking, what are they doing? I knew about incense because I've been a part of an ashram. I didn't know about all these people being together like this. And this one person, they seemed to be, it was like, yeah, it was their guru. So I was kind of a little bit looking at it, okay, all right, let me just look around the temple. I remember I was an impersonalist with Muktananda, so I wasn't as much aware of deities. I was aware of Lord Shiva being a person, and I was aware that when I left my body, I was going to go to Kailash. I knew that. However, I did not know about the deities. And so my first attraction was to a big picture on the wall of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And immediately he caught my attention. And immediately I thought, oh, this person seems he seems kind of special. There's something about him. However, the other part of me that was always kind of very critical, maybe not critical, but just cautious, thought, but why does he have such a big stomach? What is that? I didn't understand. It just seemed to me like, because I always thought that saintly people, they were very thin. And I just, that was a little bit, it didn't, for me, it was confusing. But in any case, I just kind of saw it and just looked at it and said, okay. And I kept walking. towards where I saw all the people walking, which was the first deities I saw was Gurney Thai. And I thought they were really cute. I thought, oh, they're pretty. They're pretty. And then I walked next, as I was just following people, as you all know, when you get in a temple, you just follow people. So I followed. I don't remember if Kendra came inside with me that day. It may have stayed outside. I don't remember. And then, in any case, I went into I went to take darshan um, of the deities that were in the center. Those deities were Radha Govinda, and I remember when I saw them, I just started crying and crying and crying, and I couldn't stop crying, and I didn't know why, and I was really embarrassed, and I just stood there because I didn't want to move, because I didn't want anyone to see how much I was crying. And I thought at the time, wow, this is really strange. It seemed like I was crying for like an hour. Really, it was about 5 minutes. It really wasn't. It just seemed like a long time. Then I went to the next altar, and at the next altar, there was Jagannath Baladev and Lady Subhadra. And at that point, I was hooked because there was something about them that just captured me. They just really captured me. So moving forward, I kept going to the restaurants, and people kept approaching me. And Kendra just with in our friendship started developing a little more to a little more intimacy. And but still, he didn't try to push me in anything. It was just like, okay, yeah, she's on our spiritual path. It was kind of like that. But he kept taking me to. I kept going to the restaurant with him. And devotees approached me once at the restaurant and said, "We're having a Rath Yatra in Philadelphia. We would like you to come." And I went to share that with Kendra. I think at this point we're living together. We're not married. Huh. Interesting. I think nowadays, I don't know if that's accepted. Maybe, maybe not. But at that time, that was just what the culture in America. And so I went to him and I said, they're inviting me to this Rath Yatra. And he said, yeah, it's nice for you to go. So again, I went on this adventure to the Rath Yatra, and I was really hooked at that point, because then I saw Lord Jagannath, I saw so many different. It was just, as you know, a Rath Yatra. I don't have to go into that. And then I came back to the temple, and I said to Kendra, when I went home, I said to Kendra, I want to go stay in there for about a week, and I just want to check it out. I just want to see, because by this time I had a lot of curiosity about many things. And I thought, oh, the best way to find out is go stay with these people, and I could find out. And he was okay. He said, okay, you do that. And so after 1 week of being there, I came back. And I think it was long after that I said to him, I want to move into the temple. And he said, that's a big step. That's huge. And I was like, yeah, I want to move in. I want to learn more. And he said, okay, we'll move in together. However, not here in New York. It's too much Maya. He was a musician. And he said, better we go to LA. As Kendra shared with his story, and Mukunda shared with his story, he had already experienced Krishna consciousness. So he already knew most of everything I didn't know. And so he said, let's go to LA. He knew people in LA. He said, let's go. You'll be able to practice there. I said, okay. I went with him to LA. I trusted him. I went to LA. This was where we got the invitation from our beloved Guru Maharaj. So in LA, I'm living in the women's ashram. My Sankirtan leader is Jadharani, who is now Shamarani. And Kendra is washing pots in the kitchen. And I'm going on Sankirtan. The devotees are training me to do Sankirtan at the airport. I went to the airport one day. When I came back from the airport, Mukunda, Kendra told me the Swami that he had been telling me about in New York was visiting there, and I came and saw him. And the Swami asked him, what service are you doing here? And he said, I'm washing pots. And the Swami said, you shouldn't be doing that. You're like a preacher. Come and join me in Washington, D.C. So that was the invitation. So he shared that with me. And again, I was just like totally reluctant, because I was like, I just came here from New York with you, and now you want to go again? Like, what is this? And he said, no, I think, this is going to be nice. You're going to meet the Swami, da, 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 da. Okay. So in that reluctance of going, two things happened, two very important, two reasons that helped me to make my decision to go with Mukunda, to meet this personality. One was he talked so much about this person, I thought, maybe this is someone I'm supposed to meet. The other thing was the Pope was visiting LA at the time. I don't remember which Pope it was, but there was a big to-do about it. It was a big thing. And the entire ashram was focused on making these Pope buttons. So these, these buttons that sometimes you have a picture of the person on it. So they're making this button that you can pin on people. And I was totally appalled. I thought, that to me seemed like cheating. And I remember saying that to Jadharani, who was my Sankirtan leader, my Bhakti leader. And I said, I don't know, this doesn't seem right that you're all doing this. And that was one of my first lessons in offering everything to Krishna. That was what she said. Well, it's to be offered to Krishna, whatever luxury we get from doing this, it's going to help with the temple, with this, with that, with the other thing. And I understood that in some ways. However, I understood it theoretically, intelligently. It didn't, though, connect with my heart. And so that made me make the decision, like, okay, it's time to go. And that's why I left and went with the Kendra. We went on a bus for 3 days, and we ended up in Washington, D.C., where we were met by Sanat Prabhu. Sanat was a very dear, and was, and still is, I'm sure, because I know in his heart he loved Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj very much. He was a very dear servant to a spiritual master. He was helping him so much in Washington, D.C. And so he came to meet us at the bus stop, and he brought us to this restaurant that at that time was the preaching project of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Bhakti Tirtha Swami, our Guru Maharaj, and I'll go back and forth with saying Bhakti Tirtha Swami and our beloved Gurudev. Our Guru Maharaj, he really was committed to vegetarian restaurants, very committed. And so he was developing this vegetarian restaurant and opening up to feed people on Sundays. And also that was being used as a facility to bring people in to Krishna consciousness. So I remember when I walked in, they had a temple room all the way in the back of this restaurant. And so it's 3 days, we're traveling. I had learned, and I knew from, my previous path, that when we meet a sadhu, a saintly person, you offer respect, you bow down. And so as soon as I walked in, I didn't look at him. I just bowed. I saw his orange cloth. He's sitting on a seat. I immediately bowed down. And when I lifted my head and I looked at him, I knew him. I knew him. And I told him because I was shy. However, I also, because I did Sankirtan. So I also was outspoken, even though I was shy. And so when I said that to him, I said, I know you. I know you. And he said, yes. And I have been waiting for you. We have a lot to do. And at that moment, I knew that I was safe. At that moment, I knew I was secure. At that moment, I knew that this person, who he was, all I knew about him was what Kendra had said. And I thought, okay, I finally meet this person. And this person is someone that I can learn and grow from. And so that's my relationship. That's how it actually initially started with our spiritual master. So I'm going to go through a few things that Kendra shared in terms of pastimes with our Guru Maharaj. So in terms of the pastime about the dream with Srila Prabhupada, and we're individuals, so we all have our stories and how we see them. And so my story of how I saw that, or my recollection or my realizations about it, my reflections about it, that pastime, is I saw how after that dream that he had, I remember the next morning he came into our little temple room and he gathered us all together. It was only a few of us, maybe 5 or 6. And he said there was some visiting people, devotees there, but they weren't a part of the core. We were like the core, Sanatan, Madan Gopal, Kendra, there's a few, myself, and there was another Mataji. Maybe there was one or two other people. And he gathered us together and he said, I had this dream. Kendra told you, so I don't need to go into that. And he said, I have to leave. I have to go to Africa. And within 3 days, he had gotten everything together and he was ready to go. And I was a little concerned because I was new. Um, and I had been doing Sankirtan, when I came to the restaurant, that was the service that I automatically did because that was the service I did in LA. And so I was doing Synchrony, I was like, well, what's going to happen now? You're going to be gone. I'm going to be here. It was all men, except for one woman who was kind of not fully in, as we say. She was in, but not fully. So I was like, what's going to happen to me? I was really nervous. I was very scared because I was like, I just knew this person was supposed to take care of me. And he said, don't worry, I'm going to send you to New York and you're going to get really good training. And I'm going to put you under the care of very nice devotees, which is what he did. He arranged for me to go to New York, back to where I started from. And I joined the Sankirtan party and got the best association of amazing Sankirtan devotees. During that time, during that period, when he left and after he told Ikendra that he wanted him to go to Africa, he explained to me, he said, you can't go now. It's not really a place right now for ladies. I think at that time they might have been living in Surulere. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but it was a place before we got the hospital. And he explained that to me. He said, it's not a place for ladies right now. However, Brahmananda will be getting a place. And we also need you to keep collecting, distributing books because we need the money for Africa. So you will stay here and you will collect, and that money would go, to Books for Africa. And Kendra will go and join Brahmananda Maharaj. So this was after he'd gone and come back, and he made all these different arrangements. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I remember in my memory, I stayed in the New York temple collecting for maybe 6 to 8 months. And after that, he arranged for me to come with Parameshwara, who's a very wonderful mother, wonderful devotee, and Srinath Prabhu, for us to come to West Africa, to come to Nigeria. So at that time, I was kind of a little bit, just excited because I knew Africa. It wasn't new to me. It wasn't, I had been to Festac. It wasn't anything new. So it was kind of like, oh, great, another adventure. And I was, when I was younger, an adventuresome type person. And so as far as I remember, that was like in 1980. That was in 1980 when he arranged for us to go there. I can't remember what month. And so we got to Nigeria. And my first culture shock was not with the people, not with the food, not with any of that, as I said, because I was very familiar. I grew up as a youngster before I came to America in Belize, which is a very diverse country. And there was a huge community of people called Garifunos. Garifunos are Africans that were sent on the slave trip, and they ended up in St. Vincent, which is in the Caribbean. And then from I'm just giving a little history. So from St. Vincent, they dispersed into different parts of the Caribbean. And I'm from the Caribbean. And so so I was very used to being around Africans from my childhood. My mom was a teacher, and I would attend all the festivals. I think somebody talked about a festival, maybe Ishwara. So I was very familiar. I was pretty familiar. So the culture shock I had was the place that I was supposed to stay. And I think Kendra mentioned that. It was a place that, that was being used for abortion. And I had to clean it. I had to clean that place. I had blood all over the walls. And I remember having nightmares in that place for many, many months, I think. Because, it was an actual clinic, it was an abortion clinic. So that was a bit of a culture shock. However, I just jumped right into Sankirtan because that's always been my service. I met Brahmananda Swami. He was very sweet, very kind, very fatherly to me. He just pulled me in Parameshwara into his wings. And he was just a very loving person, I remember. Once I was cleaning the floor in the temple room, and I was on my knees cleaning. And I remember that was the first time I heard someone say, I've heard it many times since that. However, Brahmananda was the one that spoke this to me. When you're cleaning the temple room floor, you're cleaning your heart. You're actually cleaning your heart. And I remember loving that statement. And so, I just applied that to anytime I would clean anywhere, and in our temple. So Surulere, yeah. There were a few devotees, definitely, and Muhammad Shanta Maharaj, I'm in no way being offensive. I will call you sometimes Dr. Martin, just for this, just to explain this part of the pastime. So at that time, I met Dr. Martin, and he was also very kind to me. He was very brotherly, extremely brotherly, like very protective. And so when I was, because my service was to go out on Sankirtan and go on the streets, and he was the one that taught me actually how to lay the mats on the ground and how to shout spiritual books, spiritual books, spiritual books. And that was when we would get inundated with many, many, many devotees. I was preaching at that time mostly to the men, because as Ishwara Prabhu said earlier, ladies would come, however, they didn't express as much enthusiasm as the men. So I was the only woman that was preaching at that time to many of the men. So many of the men that came and actually joined, they came from the book, Science of Self-Realization. So Srila Prabhupada touched their hearts and used me as an instrument, used Dr. Martin to assist to give these books out. And I enjoyed my service. I love my service. I love that I was able to connect with the people. I love the culture. I was, like I said, I was familiar, so it wasn't anything new. And like that, it went on. Kendra tells his story. Kendra was more of a preacher type person. He was very much a preacher. He was also a musician, so he was very much into, the drums and things like that. And Dr. Martin, if I remember correctly, he was the one that was, as he said, cooking. Sometimes I would help in the kitchen. However, I didn't help as much in Nigeria as I did when I was in Ghana. When I was in Ghana, I was in the kitchen a lot more. So that's that part of it. Gurudev had already shared with me in New York, because Gurudev would come to New York and check in, because I was doing Sankirtan. Remember, he had left me there to do Sankirtan. So when I was doing Sankirtan there, he would come and check in. And of course, he would get the Lakshmi, who he had arranged a treasurer to keep the Lakshmi. And he would take the Lakshmi and he would check in with me and let me know how Akindra was doing. This is the time when he was there and I wasn't. And he shared with me that when I go, I would continue doing the same service I was doing in New York. I will be doing book distribution and I will be meeting lots of people, which was what it was. He also shared with me, he said, this is the beginning of our planting seeds. It's important for the people in Nigeria to get the holy names, to read Srila Prabhupada's books as much as possible. And from there, we're going to go on and develop some other kinds of things that he had a vision for. Some of those he was trying to do in Washington, D.C. They were in the process of developing some of those in Washington, D.C. Cottage industries, schools. I have slides like that. Shall show those. So he very much shared with me. Right now, we're just planting seeds. I want you to go and just plant seeds. Help to plant seeds. It's okay. All right, So we did that by distributing books. Gurudev would come to Nigeria. He was, of course, a sannyasi, so he wasn't able to sit like Brahmananda Swami did, because in his ashram, in that ashram, sannyasa had to travel. So he would come and he wouldn't stay for a long time. However, he would stay long enough to encourage us and to push the preaching on, which means for me, from what I could see. Not that the devotees there weren't doing preaching. However, he was very expert at having newspaper articles written. He was very expert at doing radio programs. He was very expert at doing television programs, which came a little later. He was very active when he would come as a preacher. And he would also very much make himself available for the devotees. I don't think there was any devotee in the beginning that didn't have some kind of a personal relationship with His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami, because he actually really cared. He cared about the devotees understanding that our mission was about loving God. Is about loving God, and to love God meant that we hear stories about the Lord or hear pastimes of the Lord, and also to chant the holy names. That was the mission at that particular time in the Genesis. So Kendra would often accompany, Mukunda would often accompany Agro March the preaching, because I think that's what they both had in common. They both had a real sincere desire to share bhakti, to share the teachings of Srila Prabhupada's books, and so they connected like that, and that was wonderful. One other story about Victoria Island. So I was going there with Kendra when I came to Nigeria. We would go together. And His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami was very pleased. He was really happy because those were the elite people in Nigeria. And he actually had a desire to connect with these people. He wanted to connect more deeply with the politicians and with the elite. And so that service of Kendra doing that, he was so pleased. He wanted us to continue doing that service. I remember that. Tehiro, that also came up. I want to give a shout out because Tehiro was very instrumental in us doing the service that we were doing of book distribution. Tehiro drove us up and down from Lagos all the way. I remember going to Kaduna with Tehiro. I remember Kendra and I staying in schools to sleep. You know, sometimes we would sleep in the bus. I remember we going to all of those places, Port Harcourt, Benin, Calabar, everywhere you can think about. We traveled to distribute books. That was a lot of our service. And whenever Bhaktitirtha Maharaj would come, we would come back and be with him. I don't remember that Martin was with us during all of those trips. Maybe he was with us with some. This is Shanta Maharaj. Okay, so as far as the women, we would welcome the ladies. However, many, as Ishra Prabhu shared, there's a culture, and that culture is traditional to all. It's predominant in all traditional cultures, that the ladies are actually there somewhat in the background. However, they're very strong and very powerful. But however, that strength and that power is served from the background. And so it was kind of an anomaly that I was like so present and doing all that, being so present with the men, and it wasn't something that was so normal at the time. However, and you know, coming from the West, that's kind of what we did. So it took a little while to connect more deeply with the women. I do remember that there were several women that would come, and I would spend time with them. Yeah, it took a little more time than being with the men. The men were more ripe, more ready. I remember that. And I remember Ruchira. I know that she came later. She came a little later, just when we were leaving or something like that. But she was one of those women that was very serious, very sincere, very serious about bhakti. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure that she was mentioned. There were some other ladies, but many of them would stay a night or not they stayed. There was an ashram for them, but they wouldn't stay consistently. In other words, they weren't all in. Rachira, from the day she came, she was all in. And I remember that. As far as the preaching, So the preaching was very exciting, extremely exciting. Science of Self-Realization was the big door that opened hearts for many, 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 many devotees that went on to do wonderful things in West Africa. And so that's as far as Nigeria is concerned. So Bhakta Martin, Ishvara, they were instrumental in being my big brothers at the time. They were very much supporting me, assisting me, helping me and to get acclimated. And yeah, I think that I always appreciate, just as much as I appreciate Mukunda for introducing me to my spiritual master. Okay, Ghana. So Ghana was, so my service there was book distribution and assisting with the devotees. I spent a lot of time with devotees there and assisting with the cooking in the kitchen. I'm going to go through this a little quickly just because I want to show the video. So Gurudev would always arrange, for when I was in Ghana, he would arrange for me to leave Ghana. I think once a year. I don't remember how many years we were there. I don't remember. Some of you that were there know. But I remember he would arrange for me to leave Ghana for 2 months or so, to go back to America to collect Lakshmi to bring back to Ghana to help with the buildings and with whatever else. That was very much a part, like I said, of my service. I would come back. I would work with the devotees in New Vrindavan, and I would work with the devotees in New York. I would do Sankirtan, collect however many thousands and thousands of dollars that have been put into the West African Yatra. So in Ghana, I was with Gurudev would come more often than he would in Nigeria, in my experience. He would come a lot to Nigeria. I mean, to Ghana. More, not a lot, but he would come more. He liked coming and he wanted to encourage us. He had then he started moving more into what his vision was for the preaching in West Africa, in the total of West Africa. And so that was mainly, he started then speaking to us more about land. He started speaking to us more about school. He started speaking to us more about prasadam distribution, things that we had not thought about as much in Nigeria, because in Nigeria, the focus was on book distribution in those early days, bringing people in. That was the mission. And doing all these other, as I said, what he was doing, preaching, going to doing newspaper articles, things like that. So in Ghana, Gurudev would personally take us to different places. I remember him taking us, he would go with us. I don't know if he would take us. Maybe Bhakta Martin was the one that was taking us. But he would go with us to the beach. I remember almost dying once at one of the beaches. I almost drowned with one of the devotees, Gifty, because the floor, I didn't know. I'm an ocean girl. And so I was like, okay, swimming in the ocean. I didn't know that the ocean floor changes in Ghana. And all of a sudden the ocean floor changed and there was no bottom. And then I was being pulled by Gifty. And so I seriously, I thought that was it. I was just like chanting, okay, Hare Krishna, this is it. And then somehow this white-bodied person came from nowhere, and pulled us out of that ocean. And that ended up being Bhakti Deni, who she actually joined the ashram after some time. So there's very beautiful memories of being in Ghana. Of course, there was the preaching. I was going out doing the book distribution. I was assisting Dr. Martin, going into the market and buying, lots of wagashi, just so many different things I learned about Ghanaian prasadam. And then Gurudev, he would take us sometimes when he came to travel. And I remember one of my favorite places that he took me in Ghana, and still is one of the places that just stuck. It's still a memory. It's a very strong memory. Was going to Kumasi. And there I remember being in somebody's home. I don't remember if it was our chakra. I don't know whose home that was. Srivas might know. But I remember being in someone's home with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And they, of course, was, you know, very, very, very polite, very serving. He would, yeah, he would like go to these different places, and then he would not only would he take us in terms of preaching, but he would always take us in terms of history and share with us some of the history. I remember once he took us in Kumasi to the place where the slaves were taken, and I remember I I think Kendra was there with us. I'm sure because Kendra was always there, and in many of the situations that when we were traveling. And so we were in that place where the slaves were taken, and we had read about it. You know, we knew the history. And I remember we all was just like stunned when we were in there. We all had all these emotions that came up from being in there. And I remember Gurde when he came out of that building, he stood at the ocean. I think he stood there for, I don't know if it was hours, but at least an hour. He just was there, just reflecting and just whatever was going through.
That
he
was Elimina.
Sorry?
Elimina Castle.
Ah, the Elena.
Elmina or Cape Coast, but
Yeah, but this one was, yes,
Yes,
one of them, Elimina.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And I don't always remember the names, but I do remember the experience. And I remember like, oh, wow, okay, Krishna, you gave me an opportunity to see this firsthand, to not just read it in a book, but to come to this place and be here. So that's my experience of being with Gurudev in Ghana. He traveled with us a lot. You know, I remember him I remember going for the first time with him and other devotees. I don't remember who those devotees were, to Takoradi. And I remember also getting an experience in Takoradi because he was looking at farmlands. And it was really austere, seriously austere. Takoradi was more austere than Nigeria. It was just austere. And I remember thinking, oh my God, is something really going to happen here? How is that going to happen? Like he had a vision that just sometimes I didn't understand, like some of the things he would say. How's that going to happen? Is that really going to happen? How and some of them did happen. Actually, the devotees that came, they made some of those things happen. Okay, so he had quite a vision. I was always one of the reasons I served my Guru Maharaj and continue to serve him is because he always had a vision. It was never just you just go someplace and just hang out and chant Hare Krishna, and it was not like that. It was like he had a plan of what he wanted to see happen. Sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't. And so that was my experience of being in West Africa. From that experience, of course, from getting trained up in Ghana, you know, and Nigeria, that prepared us, I believe, to go to other places, which we went to Zambia. First we went to Zimbabwe, then we went to Zambia, then we went to Monrovia, then we went several different places, and several places we went after that, and we established preaching centers in some of those places when we were there. I want to move fast forward before I show this video and this PowerPoint just a bit. And I just want to plant the seed for all of you, especially those of you that live in Africa right now and are doing the preaching. So Gurudev really had affection for giving the teachings of Srila Prabhupada or the teachings of Bhakti, and to give the holy names to people. Even prior to him becoming a devotee, he had that inclination to go to Africa, because remember, he was to go to Tanzania, and then all that changed when he became a devotee. So he always had that where he had a connection to Africa, for sure. And so something that I experienced from him, even after I left Africa, and now he sent us somewhere else. He sent us to Belize, then he sent us, you know, to the Institute, then we came to Kitanagari. So he was always like ahead, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. But something happened, and I'll briefly go into share this. In 2002, I was in Gitanagari. No, I was in Maryland. We were in Maryland at the time. And I was offered an invitation to go to Nigeria to do, at that time I had studied conflict resolution, mediation, and I had some training in that modality. And this devotee that was working with I will say an agency. I won't go into this because now things are so crazy. But anyway, she was working with the agency and she asked me, would you go to Nigeria? I have a contract. Will you go there and teach conflict resolution? And she invited me and another devotee. She said, one thing is you can't go there as a devotee. You will need to be underground. I said, okay. Well, I didn't say okay. Kuridev said, yeah, yes, she wants to go. She's ready to go. Because I was like, I'm just in Gitanagari and I'm sorry, we were in Maryland, but we're going to be coming to Gitanagari or something like that. And I was just like, oh no, going back. And so she was also quite convincing. And she was new coming to our Bhakti process. And Gurudev wanted to encourage her. And he also wanted to help encourage me to come back to Nigeria and to look at it through another lens and to see if there was any way that we could get to some of these people that he wanted to preach to in Nigeria, which was more the elite people. He really wanted to connect with them. And so I accepted that position, came to Nigeria, myself and another devotee. We stayed in hotels the whole time we were there, first class hotels. And I got to see a whole different side of Nigeria. I was shocked to see that side, that the people, because we were doing these workshops, in all of the different cities, starting with Lagos, all the way down to the end where the desert is. We would do workshops 3 days. We would fly to these places, 3 days, stay there, do workshops, fly to the next place. Ended up being there for 4 months. 4 months undercover. And I would always ask sometimes to people, do you know the Hare Krishna movement? Just like that, to ask. Many people either did not know or didn't think favorably of the devotees. And so I filed that and I came back and I mentioned that to Gurudev. And he said, yeah, there's probably also a need to share Krishna consciousness from a different perspective, because perhaps that's the way to get to some of these people. Certainly conflict resolution did. However, the paradigm was a little different because we were there supposedly protecting democracy, but it was really to protect oil. And so that's a whole other story. But I wanted to share that I spent time as a devotee there in West Africa, and I spent time as a non-devotee, and just watching and observing the culture and seeing how the culture works in different ways, and how important it is to preach, to be able to develop teaching styles that may seem a little bit different, unorthodox in some ways. However, those might be the styles that can connect with other people, which is what exactly Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj did here in America, which, as we know, brought many devotees. Okay, so I'm done with that part of it. Now I'm going to show a PowerPoint. And this is what I experienced from being there in Nigeria and Ghana. It was very rich, very beautiful. In Ghana, the people were very, actually, one thing I did mention here, I wrote it, but I didn't mention it. One of the places I did visit was with Shanta Maharaj. I visited his mother in one of the place that his mother lived. I remember him taking me there to visit his mother. And I remember that's where I saw deities. And I was just shocked to see deities that seemed to be like Subhadra and Jagannath. And I remember having a very beautiful experience there in the culture, that culture seemed familiar to me. Like I thought, oh, I know this. I know these people. I knew the people there. I knew the people in Calabar. I knew some people. I had been on that journey before in some other lifetime. Okay, so those are the things I wanted to share about my journey. And I want to share this part of my journey where I saw what the impact our spiritual master had with the people that were coming. Remember, we were the foot soldiers. We were being used. We were the instruments to help the the generals, and those are Srila Prabhupada was Ishwara shared. He wanted preaching in West Africa, and so we simply followed those generals. We simply were able to serve those generals at the time. Okay, so let's go to my PowerPoint here. All right, so I did this last night and finished very late. I think 11 o'clock, Saha was connected with me. And I was like, Saha, I'm just finishing this thing now. So please forgive me if it's not so professional. It's done at the last minute, but I did want to, and it was really hard to upload these pictures, but I wanted to do it. Okay, the genesis of West Africa. I believe, the reason I chose this picture is I believe that was one of the first, and those of you that's been around for some time in Africa, was that the first Vyasasan that was made? I think it was one of the first Vyasasan, because it's one of the old pictures. And that's why I chose that. Is that true, Santa Maharaj?
Yeah, that's the first Vyasasan.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
was the first one. Yeah, I remember.
Okay, so here we are. Atitir Maharaj wanted to go to all of these different places, right? He did want everyone. He wanted us. And he started Nigeria. He started in Nigeria because in his dream, the faces he saw, he understood that Nigeria was going to be the place to open the doors to everywhere else. And of course, we went to all of these places, Benin, Burkina Faso, we went there, we went to Ghana, we went to Togo, I forgot to mention that. Kendra and I would go to Togo quite often. We would spend a lot of time in Togo, either going back to Nigeria or coming back to Ghana, or sometimes just going there and being there ourselves. He took me, my Guru Maharaj, he took me to Cote d'Ivoire. I went to Abidjan. I was there with him for some time. So I traveled quite extensively with Bhaktitirtha Maharaj, and I don't remember who else was there with me. I know there were always other devotees because he certainly wouldn't travel with me alone. However, I don't remember if Kendra was in all of these places, because Kendra was again the preacher, and he kept the fort down quite a lot as a preacher. Him and Muhammad Shanta Maharaj. Okay, so let's go to these slides. So yeah. So I want to have somebody read this real quick, please. Would you do us the honors, Shanta Maharaj?
Tat evataro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lo kasta anuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues.
So in my mind, I was always on an invitation to really just learn and to learn more about what Srila Prabhupada wanted, and how I saw the thing that I took away from Bhaktitirtha Maharaj having that dream and coming to Africa was what I got from that was how much love he had for Srila Prabhupada. That's the thing I remember so clearly. I thought, how could that happen? How could he just like pick up and just go like in 3 days? He's just gone, just left everything, left the restaurant, left everything. That's the kind of love I want to experience in my life. And I still think like that. I would love to be able to love like that. Okay, so some of you remember some of these devotees. His Holiness Brahmananda Swami at the time. This was after Bhaktitirtha Maharaj came, and we started bringing people from Science of Self-Realization, Srila Prabhupada's book, Easy Journey to Other Planets, some of the small books. Shanta Maharaj, those of you that have been there, you remember some of these devotees?
Yeah. Behind Shanta Maharaj, we have Kalidas. And then
That's me with Brahmananda.
here in front, behind
Yes.
is ACAR.
And
in the background.
Omkara is sitting behind me.
Yes.
He's standing behind me.
Behind you.
Mhm.
Okay. And then
I must be somewhere there. I don't see myself. I think they missed me out.
I think this is you here, maybe.
Yeah, no, that
Anandini, the face of Anandini is on the extreme right.
Where?
Was
Extreme
there then
right.
already
Nandini,
left?
Oh, is
extreme
that
right.
Nandini?
Yes, extreme
And
right.
this Prabhu, he also had a lot of, he actually served Gurudev quite a lot, this Prabhu, right?
Okay, if Anandini was there, then I already left Lagos then.
Yeah.
I think I already left.
Is that Anandini? It doesn't look like him.
Doesn't look like him.
Because this was very early. This was in the early days. Anyway, we have some other pictures, so we'll see. Someone remember those persons?
Yeah,
Oh,
Omkara.
yeah, that's Ajay Krishna, Omkara.
Gita Govinda at the back.
Gita Govinda in the back.
Who's that right next to Gurudev?
Gita Govinda.
No, yeah, yeah.
Right,
Gita
right
Govinda.
behind Gurudev is. I
That's Gita
thought that was
Govinda right
Shantamar.
behind, and that's Omkar that he's looking at.
This an old devotee. He had some children coming. I forgot his name, an Igbo man.
Who?
This man here.
Behind
It's an
Guru
old
Maharaj
man.
to the right.
Yeah, it's an old man. He used to come with his children.
Yeah, I remember him too.
Yeah.
In the Kwenju.
Yeah, I was in that. I was already in Southern Africa, Zimbabwe that time.
Yeah,
This
that's
picture?
the same devotee here.
Anyone you recognize?
That Gopal. I think Gopal is on the far left.
Far left, yeah.
Yes,
That's
yes, yeah.
Shivas, who's this person here?
one.
This is Chintamani here behind Gopal. Chintamani.
Oh, yeah, Chintamani. He's now
And
Chintamani Maharaj.
And this is Shinedu. What's his name? Gandiva. No,
Gandiva.
Who is the
Chintamani
Mataji?
Shinedu. This is Gandiva here.
Who is the Mataji?
Mataji, I see.
Faces.
Mataji here.
Can't tell.
Yes. Yes. I thought this is Ruchira in the back. Here.
No, here. Here,
Ah.
at the back. That is Mother Rushira, and this is Anandini here. This is Anandini again.
Where?
Anandini is behind this devotee. I can't tell who it is. This is Anandini. Mother Rushira is behind Anandini.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Her face is covered.
Omkara is to the right, extreme
Yes.
right. Omkara.
Yes.
and Butta Bhavan is behind Omkara.
Okay,
No, no,
yeah.
no, 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 no.
Okay.
This is not Buddha Baba. This is Talaban.
Oh,
Talaban.
Talaban.
Already left long time.
This is
No
Talaban.
photo, no photo was taken 80, 81. No photo was taken. So that's all this photo is all after 82.
This is 83 after this is the initiation period, 83. This is
Yes.
Talaban.
Oh.
This is
Yes.
Talaban.
Okay, Omkara again, Kalidas.
Kalidas here.
Yeah.
Where's Kalidas?
Right, extreme right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Extreme right.
Oh, where's Kalidas now?
I think it's in France or somewhere.
Hey, do you recognize this person here? After Kalidas in the middle, then there is this person grinning. That is Bhagavat.
Oh, Bhagavat.
Yeah.
Didn't he go to
Bhagavan.
Vrindavan after some time?
Yes, he was in Vrindavan. And he came to me, stay with me in Lusaka.
Yeah, I think at this point, Shantamaraj, you were still there. I think we were actually in Central Africa at this point. Ishwara, myself,
Yeah.
Rajalila. Yeah.
This is me here. This is me here and Jayananda behind me.
Jayananda, yeah, VARAHA, Jayananda, yes, I can see Jayananda.
This is me and this is Jayananda.
Yeah,
We
behind
were-
Omkara.
Africa.
And then this devotee behind Omkara also, I remember him. He used to come very regularly in a street.
Yes. I've forgotten his name now also.
Yeah, he used to come
That's
regularly.
Jayananda. That is me and I cannot see.
Maybe during this time I was not here.
Yeah, you know.
But I think we had gone, I think you in the earlier picture, I saw you, Mamantra. I
Yeah,
mean,
I saw the one there.
but
yeah,
this picture's here, I think we had gone to Zambia, Zimbabwe at
Mm.
that time,
Yeah.
Open Temple.
So the reason I found these pictures to show is simply to share the impact of what the devotees were able to do. The reason they even came, all the devotees that were instruments in being there. They all somehow planted seeds with so many of these devotees.
Abimanyu.
Abimanyu, yeah, Abimanyu. Abimanyu. He's lost.
Jyoti, this is
He's
Jyoti
there.
dancing here. That's Jyoti there.
Let's see that picture again.
This is Jyoti here.
Yeah,
Where's
that's
Jyoti?
This is Jyoti here.
Yeah, I
extremely
see him. I
right.
see him.
As
On
him
the
right
right,
dancing.
yes.
Kalidas is facing him. Kalidas is, was it Guru Maharaj? Guru Maharaj is facing him.
This is
Yeah, that's
Gurudev,
Jyoti.
yes.
And Gurudev
Yes.
is facing him.
That's Jyoti there.
Yeah.
This is Abimanyu. Gita Govinda behind Abimanyu.
Yeah.
But I've not seen Shankara anywhere here.
And Shankara was in Nigeria.
It's Ghana. Shankara was in
No, he
Ghana.
was in Ghana.
Yes. And Srivas Prabhu, who was the
Yeah.
devotee right in the front there? That was devotee. That was Kali. I never met him, I don't think.
This is
That's
Abimanyu.
That's Abimanyu from
Abimanyu,
Ghana,
okay.
from Ghana, yes.
Okay.
Abimanyu.
He was in
I've never met him.
Nigeria.
Emmanuel, yes. He did he come to America?
Yeah, he went
Yeah.
to US. Yeah, he went.
Yeah.
But since then we never saw him anymore.
No, he never came back to.
It was on the LA Sankirtan with
Yeah, people who came. Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes.
Abimanyu is in the UK here.
I don't know 84 he blew. No.
He's in the
Abimanyu
UK.
is in the UK.
Gita
Yes.
Govinda said he's in
UK?
UK.
Yes.
No, not that Abimanyu. There's another Abimanyu from
This is-
Nigeria.
This is the original Abimanyu.
This
Yeah,
one
this
is from
is
Ghana.
from
There are
Ghana.
three Abimanyus.
Anyway, there's one
That's
Abimanyu
yes.
here. Also, Ajay Krishna is also here.
Yeah.
Is this Bhakti Vasudev Maharaj on the end
No,
here?
he was not here at that time. No, he hasn't
Okay.
joined yet. He hasn't
Not
joined.
yet. Okay. So these were some of the articles. 10 minutes with the master. And one of the question was, what is your mission? Man behind growth in Krishna consciousness. These are some of the articles that were written during the time that Gurudev was there. I just took this picture to show how enthusiastic and happy these devotees were to chant the holy name.
It's Kalidas. Who is
Kalidas.
this?
Oh, who is in the center?
It looks like Chinedu, Kintamani.
Is that Chintamani?
Oh, it looks like him. Yeah, sure.
Looks like
Ah,
him.
okay.
Yeah.
He's now Maharaj.
Yeah, in
And
Nepal.
Nandini at the back. Omkara jumping.
Who is behind? Oh, go back. Who is
That's
behind with the hair?
Some
At the back, look back.
some regular member, but not full-time devotee. I know him.
Yeah, he was into drama also. We call him Maya
Yes.
Swami.
Yes,
Maya
yes.
Swami.
Yes, we used to
Maya
act
Swami.
together. Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Maya Swami.
it's him.
Okay.
This is Ekadashi. Ekadashi,
Ah,
Ekadashi.
yeah. Ekadashi, Ekodev. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, is that Echo there behind? Ekadesi?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Ekadashi playing Medanga. It's also always a starting with Medanga.
I think this may have been the time of Kirtananda also, because they had on Kirtananda t-shirt.
Yes.
I think when
At that
83
time, they'd all take initiation from
Yes.
Kirtananda.
Yeah.
or 84.
83. It's 83. Wow. Wow, beautiful. That's Bhagavat in the back. That's Bhagavat Grini at the back.
Oh yeah.
And
Bhagavat
Chintamani in front of him. You
Yeah.
remember this, Prabhu? This is Lala Samai.
Lala Shamai, yeah, I've seen his face somewhere in one of the pictures. Also.
This is Lala Samai.
And Lala Shamai.
You guys can remember all
Chintaman is
this.
here. Chintaman is here.
And we were in Central Africa at this point. Who has the garland on right there?
And then
I've
this
been
person, the fellow Chintaman is not Sachi.
No, that's the Baptist Swarup.
Marcus, yeah, Marcus.
This is Baptist Swarup. This is Ekadashi.
And who is wearing the garland?
It's Abimanyu.
Oh,
Happy
that,
man is wearing the garland.
You must have received that from Gurudev.
Yes.
Shima Varaha, who is Bhakti Swarup?
Well, it used to be Gurudev's driver.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, in this photo.
That's him here.
The one
The
here.
third person from the right. Light complexion.
In white,
Yes, yes.
White,
white,
yeah.
and down.
Yeah, I saw him once or twice at Accra.
He used to drive Gurudev. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason, as soon as I saw him, I mean, I was a student, but I saw devotees, and I saw him in particular, and I kind of loved him right away. And I said, one day I will be like these people. Yeah.
Wow.
Behind Lala Samai, we don't know who that person is. Okay. Who is this person behind Lala Samai?
It looks like Kalidas, but
No. That's not Kalidas. That's not Kalidas.
Kalidas. You can see his face well. It's a tall person.
Yeah, tall person. A light, fair complexion.
Yeah, tall person.
This is like seeing the flowers that grew from seeds. This is like crazy.
this is how do you call it? The flower that is in India a lot, with very fragrant smell.
Yeah.
Champak.
Yeah, champak.
The next one,
That's Guru Maharaj.
that's initiation. Yeah.
Who are these people? Can I recognize any of them?
It's
too much.
Same people. They are those same people because that was the initiation Guru Maharaj officiated. Same people, same set of people there.
Okay.
So
Haribo.
Initiation. You could tell that's after initiation.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is Echo
Look
Dave.
at
Echo
Adidev.
Dave.
Jyoti, Echo. Yes, Adidev. Wow.
Oh, that's Shankara in the white. Jyoti.
Yeah.
Shankara in the white.
Is it? I can't see clearly. Yeah.
You look like almost in the center, the person in the white. That's Shankara.
Yes, Shankara. Wow.
Yeah, that must be after the initiation.
Yeah, this is
This
after.
was if this was 82, 83, Maharaj was doing
February
the
83.
yajna for them. Huh?
It's February 83.
Yeah, the Maharaj was doing the yajna on behalf still Kirtananda. So I think this is when they were still, yeah.
Who is the person in the center? I remember. Oh,
wait.
yeah, the person not wearing a shirt.
This is Adidev.
Adidev. Very good Mridanga player, driver, preacher, everything.
Yes.
Very good cook also.
Who is on the left of Echo Dave?
Jyoti.
Oh, that's Jyoti.
Jyoti. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're moving to Ghana. Ghana.
Yeah, Haribo.
This is on the water.
Yeah, we are crossing the Accra Day.
We are going to Accra Day.
Yes. Good name taking me across the ocean of Maya. Omniums Krishna to feed 10,000. Krishna group plans to build schools and orphanages. Wow.
So if I remember correctly, Gurudev had a vision, and his vision very much included the children. Very much.
Wow.
Wow. This is Lord Krishna's Academy, Accra.
The first Gurukul that was there in Accra, wasn't that Raivata Muni and Guru Das?
Yeah, Raivata Muni, Guru Das, and Guru Das' brother, younger brother,
Kobla?
my nephew.
Kobla.
yeah, Puru, Cobra.
Kuru, yes.
Yes. And then we had one from Nigeria, Puru.
Kuru, yeah.
Yes.
I see Shastra Prabhu in
And this Kuru, Puru, and Sham. These were very, very powerful Medanga players those days.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they were highly Kitanese.
Yeah.
These small boys, all Kitan, you cannot stay. Puru and Sham. Oh, Krishna.
I see Mother Kalindi here also. I think Mother Kalindi also taught in the school for a short while.
Yeah. Shastra Prabhu, Guru Maharaj, and then
And where was this school? This was in Ghana?
this in Ghana is currently operational.
So that must be Ila there.
That's Ila.
Ila had not come then.
No.
No, she was there. She opened the school.
Oh, she was here. Yeah, she is here.
She opened the school.
She is in the photo. She's
She
here.
opened the school.
Yeah, she,
Shivas, what city was it?
Accra,
It's in Accra?
Yeah.
How many kids are in the school now?
About 150.
Very nice. We wanted schools all over Africa.
Yes, Ramanuja Prabhu.
Ramanuja, yeah.
Oh, Ramanuja, yeah. Behind.
Yes.
Kirtan man.
Master of Kirtan.
Who is wearing the in the glasses, black glasses?
Shivas.
Shivas, yeah, I can see him.
Okay. And what year was this?
This should be 90 something.
Okay. Oh no. Okay, I'm okay with this. Let's go to the next one and see.
This is a visit to Winneba.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
But the Chandravali is there.
Chandra Valley, yeah. Himavati Mataji.
Yeah.
Shiva's Manachari over there. And then, late Mrs. Ankara, Emilia, yeah, Devi is there. Oh, this policeman, I've forgotten the name. Ooh, memorable pictures.
Is that for the Himavati in the yellow sari?
Yes, it's Himavati.
Yeah, that's Himavati, yeah. Ooh. I see.
This was about what year?
This was in the 90s.
90s.
I think 94, 95, thereabout, yes.
Yeah, well, we were long gone.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. It was in the 90s, I remember. Oh. Wow.
Trivikram to the right of Guru Maharaj, or to the left, Trivikram from Liberia.
Liberia?
Yeah, he's there now.
Yeah, but where is this taken? This is
Accra. This is Accra. This is Radha Govinda temple.
Radha Govinda. Wow, okay.
Trivikram, was he not from Sierra Leone or Liberia?
Both.
Liberia.
Came from Liberia to Sierra Leone to Ghana.
Okay.
This is Chenta Prema here.
Yeah. I think I saw Nakula in the picture, the Winneba one, Nakula. Shri Prahlad, you remember Nakula?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think Nakula was around.
Yeah, Nakula was in that.
Yeah, he was in that picture. Yeah.
So somebody was reminding us. We can. Is it finished?
Yes, that's it for now. For now, there's lots of pictures, but it's taken a long time to upload.
Yeah.
So I just want to
Yeah,
thank
this
all
is
of you.
very good.
Thank you for engaging me. Thank you for letting me come into your country. Thank all of you for all that you helped me to serve. And I'm forever indebted to Ikendra, indebted to Mahamantra, Santa Maharaj, Mukunda, forever indebted to my revered spiritual master, Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavad, dandavad, dandavad.
Well, thank you so much, Mother Rajalila, for.
I don't want to leave out Ishvara and Srivas. They all were instrumental.
Always. Very beautiful memories. Srivas Vanachari, please you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Mama Africa. Yes, this is very memorable, very sweet, and it reminds us of our beginning. I always remember how you took loving care of us in the very beginning. Even on Sankirtan, we went on Sankirtan to Kumasi together, and your care was just amazing. And this is reflecting in your presentation. So we want to register our deepest appreciation for taking the trouble to come to Africa to help Guru Maharaj initiate the preaching in West Africa. And we also like to extend our gratitude to Shanta Maharaj, to Mukunda Prabhu, and all the early devotees who made it possible for this movement to gain root. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I also wanted to remind devotees very briefly that His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj used to frequent this platform for so long, coming to preach to us, share his love and wisdom with us at least once in a month. And a couple times, Maharaj shared with us. I really didn't understand it until 2 days ago when His Grace SRIMAN Mukunda Prabhu was speaking. And then he highlighted that at some point, the Nigerian Naira was actually a much more heavier weight than the dollar.
Yeah.
So, His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj shared with us that he himself, with a couple of devotees, went to Nigeria and collected so much funds for his Juhu project. So Maharaj personally invited us all Africans to come and also relish our sweat in the form of the Juhu project. So congratulations to Iskcon, West Africa. Hare Krishna.
Very well.
Ishara Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Just a couple of things. One is, as you can see, when the picture was being shown, because in Nigeria, in the early days, no Nigerian women were joining. I mean, we had them visiting. They are visiting, like Brenda, the wife of Sweetie Prabhu. They were only visiting, but no ladies were joining. Of course, when even when Brother Bagila and Ramesh, when they came, you know, they are, so of course we were actually enamored by them because they were like the only women, American women, so we were very enamored by them that time. But when the movement went to Ghana, it was a different thing from in Ghana. In Ghana, right from the beginning, the Ghana were different. As a matter of fact, all the ladies that we eventually have in Nigeria, they all came from Ghana only. Nigerian women were not joining, but the Ghanaian women, right from the beginning, they were joining. And they all came from Ghana to Nigeria. So I think it was much later, maybe 80, I think it's after I left Nigeria that the Nigerian women started joining. It's that time I've already left Nigeria. But again, because of our very, very strong culture, and also, of course, you know, we are brahmacharis. The temple was very, very heavily, you know, all the young men that time. So the women, of course, they would not want to be, you know, want to be part of that. And plus the temple, one big building. So it wasn't really an environment suitable for me to join. So, so that was that. The other one I forgot. Maybe maybe next speaker can
PRABHU.
Yeah.
I don't want to put a damper on what you said. However, I do want to share that Ramananda Swami at the time when we came, he was very receptive to the ladies coming. However, there is a strong culture, as you said, it's very traditional. And especially the Islamic culture is very strong in terms of the participation of women. I know that because I participated with traveling on book distribution as a devotee, and then I came and I worked in the Islamic countries for quite some time, and it was really, I was teaching those workshops, so it was very interesting to really go deeper and watch the culture as I was meeting with many of those Islamic men. So there's definitely a different culture in Nigeria in terms of women are not they're not encouraged to express themselves. In Ghana, it is quite different. So I don't mean to make that sound negative. However, that was my experience.
Actually, it was a matter of time. That changed because I think there was problem of space at Ilubeju.
Yes.
By the time we moved to Mafoluku, at one point we were having 25 mothers in the ashram, 25. Devotees were 70, total population of devotees was 75, 50 men, 25 women at Mafoluku. So you can imagine things changed because at Mafoluku, they had a whole flat to themselves. It's two-story buildings. So the women had a whole floor, the last floor for themselves. And there were many there, 25 at one point. Because we used to have roster for giving prasad and making sure that everyone received prasad. So we have the roster, and then we look at the names when they come, that this person has taken, this person has taken. Yeah. So things change. Yeah.
Yeah, things changed. I remember some of them now.
Yeah.
One is she's left, but still a devotee. She's in Germany now. Her name is Victoria. I forgot her.
Vishnu Prayer.
Initiated.
Vishnu Prayer.
Vishnu Prayer. Her name is Ndidi. If you guys can look for her.
Yeah. She visited Togo recently. She's now a professor.
Oh, she came to your place. She told me.
She's a professor, a PhD.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in touch with Vishnu Priya. We've been in contact for a while now, the last couple of years. She's back in the States.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, we were discussing about her this very past weekend, myself and Grace Yashidamai. Mother Yashidamai, people were asking of you, left and right, top and bottom, and center yesterday. So people wanted to hear from you too, so who will say?
Yeah, yesterday I had no electricity. NEPA took light yesterday for 6 hours, so there was no electricity.
Oh, sorry. Well, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, we thank you all. We have His Grace, Sriman Varaha Acharya Prabhu, next online to speak. And I must say that Sriman Varaha Acharya has been one of my strong mentors in spiritual life. And it is an honor that I still have access to him and still learning from him. There are so many people who helped me, and lots of my colleagues grew up in devotional service, and he's certainly one of them. One quick thing I would like to share about His Grace Sriman Varaha Acharya Prabhu is he is very determined, very serious, die-hard disciple of His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. You better be careful what you say about Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj around him, especially if you have some falsehood to ponder about Gurudev. You better be careful. If you should say things like that around him, you'll be sorry. He is so unique in the sense that even though he's been a grihasta, but his lifestyle has been that of a sannyasi. He's always moving from one country to another, and he's helped open so many centers around West Africa. He is Nigerian by birth, so definitely he speaks English. But as we speak, he speaks, writes, and reads French as if he was born a Francophone person. That is how dynamic he is. And I sometimes say this to remind devotees that you all remember, especially those of you in the US, there was a time His Holiness Richard Swami Maharaj had asked all the devotees to pray for one of his disciples in West Africa because he was involved in a coup d'etat that had been staged in Sierra Leone. And that was His Grace Sriman Varaha Acharya, because he was very much influential in the sense of preaching. He was preaching to lots of the heads of politicians in the country. And so when there was a coup, they thought that it was behind the power of the reigning government. So they attempted capturing him, and they actually captured him. But somehow Guru and Krishna arranged for him to escape. So we are very grateful to have such an individual as our senior god brother. I think to some of us, to some of you, younger god brother. But in either way, we are very proud, humbly proud, I should say, that we could have such a brother in the family. So, Prabhuji, please, you may unmute and also share with us your experience and realizations as you joined devotional service in West Africa. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyana Gyana Shalakayaha Shakshuhu Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Gyana Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Tirtha Swamini Tinamine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Sitatmani Sri Gora Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tite Namini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pasharini Nirvese Sasunyavadi Paschata Disatarine Bancha Kalpatarubhyacha Kripasindhivya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sivasari Guru Bhaktavindaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, dear Prabhus, Matajis. First of all, I want to offer my respectful obeisances to all the stalwart devotees who have come forward to bless us with their memories of how Krishna consciousness started in West Africa. Like we've had again and again, Mother VRAJALILA mentioned that they planted the seed. Yeah, they are the expert gardeners through whose diligent hands the seeds of Krishna consciousness were planted in the West African region. A moment association with any one of them is sure to guarantee you one awakening of love of God. Before giving a brief intro about myself, how I came in contact with Krishna consciousness, I would also like to thank the organizers of this event, the Hare Krishna Africa team, for inviting us all to reflect on the 20th anniversary of His Holiness Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, and by reminiscing on the genesis of Krishna consciousness in West Africa. that gives us a wonderful opportunity to also have a recollection of Gurudev's wonderful activities in the region. Any account of pioneering Krishna consciousness in West Africa is synonymous with a chronicle of Gurudev's activities. There's no doubt about that. Okay, so like Mother VRAJALILA said some few days back, that whatever we achieved, whatever we did, it was because Gurudev told us to do it. It was because he told us to do it. Yeah, so and that being said, now I can quickly share memory of how I came in contact with the devotees. I'm going to do very briefly about my coming to Krishna consciousness. So very brief, because one, I don't want it to take so much of our time, and second, I want to profit as much as possible to speak about the impact that Gurudev had on the spread of Krishna consciousness in West Africa. So it's sometimes somewhere in early '82, I was a student and I was coming from school from Victoria Island. I was attending Federal School of Art and Science in Victoria Island, and I was coming from there. I was staying at Festac. So there used to be these long state buses, and it helps to commute between the highland and the mainland. And if you join, because it's cheaper, if you join, if anything happens, you come down in between, you're going to spend much more money to be able to get to your destination. So it happened once, I was in the bus, and then the bus stopped at the bus stop for some passengers to alight. And right from the window, I saw a poster on a pole saying free lecture on karma and reincarnation. But from where I was sitting, I could not see the address. And I knew coming down from the bus would be a risk, because I would probably not be able to be fast enough to join the bus. But I took the risk. I came down and I copied the address. By the time I finished it, of course, the bus was gone. So it cost me more money to get back home that day. But because I'd been session and I've been attending lectures, my father used to talk to us a lot about karma and reincarnation. So that became a topic that I was always interested to find out more. So when I saw that poster, I came down. So then then it was the address, the venue was 2B Coca Road in Lupeju. So one Sunday, I found the time to go there. And the experience was, very interesting. And after the program, I bought my first book, Beyond Birth and Death. I love it, but actually it was very, I love it because just even before, reading it, I love the picture at the back, that there's that skull and then the plant growing inside out of it, very beautiful covering. So along the line, somebody gave me Bhagavad Gita. I don't know, one of the senior devotees gave me, and I started, devouring it. By the time I finished Bhagavad Gita, I knew, wow, this is my path. So I started visiting temple, from time to time. And then one time I came and the temple was locked. I mean, there was nobody. And some of the visitors who came also started speculating, maybe devotees traveled for preaching or something. So after that, I cut off for a while. That was the time there was this crisis going on. So then I checked back again towards the end of 1982, maybe October, November. That time, temple activities had restarted again. Devotees were there. And then I quickly integrated very much with the activities in the temple. There was the drama group. I used to be part of the drama group, and very active, actually. And 1983, of course, there was initiation, and I was supposed to be there. My name was on the list, somehow or the other. I was removed from that list anyway. But anyway, I was with all those devotees when they took their initiation. And so that's just the brief introduction that I want to give about myself. Now let's get into remembering how Krishna consciousness started spreading in West Africa. I jot some notes down so that I can be very together in my presentation. So please quickly allow me to check my note. Okay, so under the able guidance. Okay, now second thing, how I met Gurudev. So one evening I had come to visit the temple and I was going to leave before the Aarti. So this devotee used to be Bhakta John. That was before their initiation. Jayananda was my good friend. He and Samboga. Prabhu Shivas would remember them very well. So Jayananda, he stopped me. He saw me going. He said, "Why? You're not waiting for Aarti?" I said, "No, I just came to check. Pay obeisance and going." He said, "No, don't go. There is a visitor, very special visitor. You need to hear him." It's okay. So I stayed back, and there was it. After Aarti, Gurudev came down, and there was such a wonderful delivery of Krishna consciousness that I was captivated. There's no doubt about it. So that was the beginning of my falling in love seriously with Krishna consciousness. Okay, so talking about pioneering Krishna consciousness in West Africa, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami was the trailblazer, in terms of spreading Krishna consciousness. He had a wonderful impact on everything that was happening. It took great personal risks, a lot of risk, and showed immense courage to establish Krishna consciousness in Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Togo, and Benin. We have heard so much about his early days in Ghana and Nigeria. So let me quickly give some about the early days in Sierra Leone, Liberia, how Gurudev pioneered the preaching there. Gurudev went to Freetown. He had only one contact, one member, or one Rosicrucian leader called Judge Davis. So he communicated with this guy, and the guy said, "Yes, you can come. I will lodge you, no problem." So when Gurudev arrived, he went and picked up Gurudev, and they were together to his house. He took Gurudev to his house, and they chatted all afternoon into the evening. And when it was getting dark, and the guy said, "So when will you move to the hotel?" Oh. He said, "What hotel? I thought you were lodging me." He said, No, that's not possible. I cannot lodge you." So Gurudev said, "Okay, so what to do?" He said, "I will take you to some of the nice hotels." And he took Gurudev to Bintumani, one of the biggest 5-star hotel in Freetown. Of course, you can imagine it's very expensive. Gurudev didn't even prepare for that. So then Gurudev said, "Okay, look, I really don't have the money for that. Can you take me to the Indian temple?" Because he had already found out there was an Indian temple. "Can you take me to the Indian temple?" So the guy accepted. He took Gurudev to the Indian temple. When they got there, the Pandaji welcomed Gurudev nicely. I said, "Sannyasi is very nice." He said, "But I cannot allow you to sleep without having permission from those who control the temple." And those who control the temple, the guy it's not the owner, but the one who was in charge of Chotram supermarket. And I think it was at that time the consul, India consul also. So they made several attempts to get in touch with this guy. They couldn't reach him. So the Pandit said, no problem, you can pass the night. He will come in the morning for puja. Then we can talk to him. So Gurudev passed the night. And the following morning, this guy showed up. And he did not even seem to notice Gurudev. Gurudev greeted him, presented himself, representative of Iskcon, and he's come to do some missionary work in Sierra Leone. And the guy said, so why are you staying here? Why you sleep here? He said, because I'm a missionary. He said, no. You have to go stay in a hotel. And Gurudev said, I did not come prepared for that. He said, no, you're an American. And you're representing an international organization. How come you do not have money for hotel? No, please, you have to get out of here. Yeah, that was how cold and unfriendly the guy was. So we can imagine, the kind of situation Gurudev put himself every time when he went pioneering, Krishna consciousness in different countries. So that's what I meant. I just give one example. I mean, I will touch on different points and I try to give some example to illustrate, some of the things he did in this regard. Let's see, what did I have there again? So 1 minute, please. Got some things together. Okay, so now I'm going to focus the rest of my sharing on the, on the strategies and the tools used by Gurudev to spread Krishna consciousness. And this is very important for us because we have to see what is not happening now, what was happening then, and what are those things that were making people to come in droves to the temple, and that is not happening now. I want to make a little digression before I go into those strategies. When our headquarters in Lagos, the temple that was being built, when it was sold, and I became too vocal and saying this cannot be, and then they were trying to convince me, oh no, they're going to build another one. And I said, where? You're dreaming. Because the factors that was responsible for that temple manifesting, those factors that was responsible no longer exist. No longer exist. So you'll be dreaming to think that you can reproduce that. That is the labor, that is the result of the labor of 30 good years that you people have thrown away. And I said, if in 5 years you are able to come up with a hut, you build a small hut in Lagos for Krishna, in 5 years after 2007, if in 5 years you are able to build something, I will say kudos to you. Now, how many years since then? Have they built a hut? Forget it. Because those factors, what I'm going to start delineating now, do not exist again. And we have to pray, to Gurudev to be able to bring back those kind of situations. So first and foremost is that Gurudev engaged a lot in interfaith and media outreach. One of the things that helped to really bring Krishna consciousness to focus was the interfaith programs on the televisions. There used to be one in Benin that was called Many Faces of Religion. It was wonderful. Anytime Gurudev appeared on that, the whole nation is electrified. That was one of those programs. So interfaith program and the media, Gurudev is a media man. From one radio station to television program, and you all know he became the darling of the media. So everyone wanted him. They all loved to have him in their station as a guest. And he got to a point that at Port Harcourt, whenever Gurudev visited, they would record some show and they would record several to keep, when he would be away so that they can keep using. There was one devotee or a well-wisher, I don't know whether it was ever initiated, it's called Amakiri. He was really in charge of that. He was really very active in that. So, and the most interesting part of this media outreach is that at that same time, the Christians were spending a lot of money to be able to, appear on the television and have television program. We were spending nothing. Just by the force of his preaching, by his charisma and the message he was carrying, everyone wanted him freely without us paying anything to the television stations. So is that happening now? Do we have anyone? No. And you can imagine the power of the media. The media makes anything, very popular, make people aware of what is happening. So Krishna consciousness was, in the minds of people at that time because of Gurudev's appearance on the media. There's no doubt about it. Okay, now, opening of temples. You will be shocked to know how some of these temples were opened. Shanta Maharaj was speaking, and he mentioned how Wari Temple was opened. And last time also, I had Mukunda Prabhu was speaking about Owerri. At least those places, I'll let you know. That lady in Wari, the Indian woman, she saw Gurudev on the television. And she was so enamored, and immediately she picked up the phone, calling Lagos. Do you people have a temple in Wari? They said, no. I'm ready to offer my place. Come. They said, come. I'm offering you my place. You must have a temple here. Owerri. This is a guy I preached to. It's Professor Powell. Some of you will remember him. He was a mystic. And some or the other, he came around and he became very much attracted to Krishna consciousness. He offered his own house, a big house in Owerri. He just said, please take this house and have it set up, open a temple there. So you see how the temple was opening, were getting opened by the power of the preaching of Gurudev. Just everyone wanted. Immediately people say, please come here. We want you here. We want you here. So temple was opening, like that. Okay. So opening of temples and of course, educational projects. So there's the Gurukul right back at official town in Ghana, of course, and then later on in Accra and then Port Harcourt. But there was one other educational project that was opened then that many devotees who passed through that always have a very fond memory of that place. That is the Bhakta School or Bhakta College in Abeokuta. So one of those early devotees called Lala Shamai, he offered his house in Abeokuta as that's the first Iskcon property in Nigeria. He donated his house. And because so many devotees were joining around the country and especially in Lagos, and they were not getting proper, training. So Gurudev decided to use Abeokuta as a Bhakta college. And Guru Das Prabhu was the first leader of that Bhakta college. And most of the devotees who went through his training, they always praised Guru Das Prabhu. They would never forget him. He was such an amazing devotee. Yeah. So since that time, of course, for one reason or the other, Guru Das Prabhu had to go to somewhere else, and those who took over from him couldn't run the place. They run it down. Up to today, I don't think any attempt to start any Bhakta college like that has been successful again. Okay, so these are the initiatives of Gurudev. Opening of temples, educational projects. There's another aspect of Gurudev which I think it's worthy of note, and especially in spreading Krishna consciousness in West Africa. And I think we would not do justice to his impact, or to the impact of this aspect, on our preaching. In fact, the whole Africa. Gurudev was a champion of African dignity and spiritual equality. Gurudev often used to empathize with the struggle of the Africans. And he was always speaking to us how to overcome the colonial and the post-colonial mentalities. In fact, because of this, one of the reasons why he was so effective in his preaching, because he was not just preaching doctrines, he was addressing people's concern. And people were so enamored by that. Somebody who could be that bold, courageous to address issues on a spiritual manner. So the fact that he championed this African dignity and spiritual emancipation through Krishna consciousness, in fact, one of the reasons that attracted some of us, because we were, you know, in that kind of mindset of how to get rid of these colonial, you know, mentalities. And many people were attracted like that. Many. They may not say it. It's not that they were just attracted to Krishna consciousness philosophy, but they saw this person that was actually, you know, going through their minds and helping to let them be free from the shackles of the colonial past. So that's also another one of the strategies of Gurudev. And we all know, you know, I think some of you spoke about it. Mataji's mother, VRAJALILA, spoke about it, how he used to get, you know, newspaper, what do you say, press cuttings in order to be able to address issues, you know, in people's mind. He was very expert about that. And he used it very nicely in promoting Krishna consciousness. So another aspect of Gurudev, of course, we all know that he left the legacy of literatures, leaderships, and also authored several books, especially the Spiritual Warrior series. But there's one particular thing about this. I'm so fortunate that every time a book is published and Gurudev visited, he will give me a copy. I don't know whether I was doing that to other devotees, but I was so fortunate that every time a book is published, he will give me a copy. And I was always obliged to read through all, because I knew he gave me these books so that I can read it. And that helped me a lot to be able to enter into his mood and to also see, you know, how much, you know, it was, I mean, especially his mood. Yeah. So those books are part of the legacy he left for us, especially his disciples and many people. I tell you one thing about those. You remember, especially in Benin. We had a festival in Benin, and then Gurudev had taken flight. And on the flight were some politicians, some dignitaries. And somehow or the other, they got into conversation with Gurudev. And throughout the flight, they were just glued to him. Up to the point that when the flight landed in Benin, they would not let him go. They were stuck to him, and then they were all asking for his books. Some of you could remember that incident. So, because he was addressing issues in a way that really touched the heart of people, they saw this is not just a missionary, but a revolutionist. His presence was that of a revolutionary. It was not just like the other religious missionary, Christian missionaries that we've been used to coming to impose some foreign ideas. He came with a vision, a revolutionary with a vision of how to awaken the African, spirituality. And in many ways, like I mentioned about these media activities, he was actually known, through his preaching, to have built a bridge between African spirituality and Vedic knowledge on one hand, and bridge between Islam and Christianity on another hand. Everyone saw Krishna consciousness through his presentation as the rallying round to be able to get proper understanding of either African spirituality or of Christianity or of Islam. Some of those things I may not go, I'm sorry, if that's why I have to jot down things, because there's so many things coming up in the head. So mentioning about the Islam, we all know those devotees, imams in Nigeria, in Ibadan, that became, his fans. That anytime Gurudev arrived, this guy will organize Gurudev to come and give lecture at his mosque, and there will be thousands of his disciples there. And these are very, fanatic Muslims, but they adore Gurudev like anything. Yeah, so that is just some of the impact. And because this was going on, people respected Hare Krishna. I give you one instance. I was at the airport. My service was distributing books many, many years. I was at the airport distributing books, and I saw this gentleman. He was sitting in a corner, and I approached him. He listened to me. I had this set of books put on his table, and he said, "Tell me more." So I thought, well, this is a good customer. So I went again trying to explain to him, Then he said, "Do you know why I listen?" He said, "First, let me tell you who I am. I am a justice in the Federation, and I've come to welcome my son coming from London." He said, "You know why I'm listening to you?" He said, "I attended a meeting recently, and it's a meeting of who is who in Nigeria." When I say who is who, you know what that means? Who is who in Nigeria? And there, this very important justice, one of the most respected justices in Nigeria, stood up to speak. And he introduced himself. He said, "I am a Hare Krishna and also a traditionalist." He said, everyone was shocked. Actually, I think this justice he was talking about is called Justice Ademola. It was from Ibadan. Because while I was president at Ibadan, one police officer used to come to the temple to tell me about the activities of this guy, that he did not allow his family members to stay with him. He got another house for them. He stayed alone because he was always studying your books. The guy came to tell me, he said this, he's always studying your books alone. He would not let anyone come. So when this justice was speaking, I could imagine who that person was. So anyway, the guy bought all the books. He said, since then, I've been very much curious to know more about Hare Krishna. So it's important that we narrate this situation or the trend of things at that time compared to when Mother VRAJALILA went in 2022. Things have changed. Hare Krishna was well respected. 1985, there was problem in the country, religious riots, everything. Babangida was the president. They organized a national conference on religious coexistence, peaceful religious coexistence, something like that. They invited speakers from universities, professors from Department of Religion and Philosophy. All those who represent, it's a national thing, and it took place at National Theatre. We, the Hare Krishnas, were the only group that was represented. We were not being represented from the university or being professors. Me and Bhakti Vasudev Maharaj. Only the two of us. We represented Krishna consciousness. They invited us. Why did they invite us? Because at that time, Krishna consciousness had become so popular. So even though it was a national event, we were invited. We had no representation coming from the university. All other religions, Christian, Muslim, and others, they all represented from the university, professors from the universities. And what happened? The day we presented our papers, you need to be there. As soon as we finished, we were mobbed. We were mobbed by people in their religious regalia. They came mobbing us. We want copies. We want copies. We want copies of your presentation. So it is hard to believe that sometimes later, somebody will go to Nigeria and ask, do you know about Hare Krishna? And people will have negative impression. It's hard to believe. But that's what became of, the preaching afterwards. Very regrettable. So, some of the points that I also like to mention where Gurudev impacted the preaching is through his diplomatic skills. Gurudev was a diplomat, spiritual diplomat. We all know how he used to preach to the leaders, both traditional leaders and the politicians. Gurudev was so skillful in being able to preach to these people, attract them, and make them favorable to Krishna consciousness. You know better than me some of the result of that too. Jerry Rollins, Kenneth Kaunda, Joseph Momo in Sierra Leone, and in Sierra Leone, let me leave that aside for now, because when he came to Sierra Leone, there's one of those videos in YouTube. That year, he launched his leadership book at the parliament, in the parliament, because the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, had become the Speaker of Parliament. So when Gurudev came, he invited him to come and launch the book at the parliament. And you can imagine that. So Gurudev was very skillful in dealing with political leaders. Now, there's one point. The Niti Shastra says something. I'm trying to remind us all what is not happening again and why people are looking down on us. The Niti Shastra says something. There are three things that you should not be too far away from, or be too close. Three things. I think you all know that. Maybe somebody can help me. What are those three things you should neither be too close or too far away?
The king.
The king.
Fire.
Fire.
Woman.
No, the guru.
Okay.
The guru. Three things. Thank you, Prabhu. Don't be too close to the king and don't be too far away from the king, because you need to be recognized and protected by him. How much preaching are we doing to the leadership in Africa now? We're far away from them now. There's no doubt about it. Don't be too close to fire. You know that you can burn. And don't be too far away. You get cold. Don't be too close to a guru, because you can commit offenses. And don't be too far away, because you will lack in knowledge. So Gurudev was so expert in making sure that from time to time, he was paying courtesy calls. This was his idea. It was not us. To the leaders, and familiarizing them with Krishna consciousness, and they become favorable. And because the leaders were favorable, the people in general were also gradually becoming favorable to Krishna consciousness. Are we still doing that? No. No. Okay. So, and of course, I think we should remember that the traditional leaders, they honor him so much up to the point of making him and enthroning him as a chief, a high chief in Warri. Because Gurudev showed so much respect for the tradition. And he was making them to understand that higher Krishna consciousness is actually respecting tradition. It was not like one of the missionaries, Christian missionaries, who come condemning all the traditions. No. But he was telling them there's something higher. And because he identified with the African tradition by, wearing the local dress, kente in Ghana, in Nigeria, he will wear the agbada. He was showing us, don't act as if you're foreigners. This is your tradition. Represent it properly. Even though some people were trying to criticize him for that, but Gurudev was pinpointed. He knew what he was doing. He was a mission conscious person. How many of the gurus can attempt to wear African dress to preach? How many? Gurudev was unique in that aspect. And it yielded a lot of result. It yielded a lot of result. No doubt about it. Today, even we, the Africans, we're shy to present ourselves, in African attire. And we want to convince the people. Okay? But don't forget, Gurudev showed us that being a missionary is not to come and impose foreign idea. It's to rather become a visionary to see how to awaken people from where they are. Gurudev used to meet people at the cultural level. At their cultural level, he was meeting people at their level. And from that level, he was bringing them up to Krishna consciousness. That film from Ghana, you can remember the one that was recorded by Satyaraj. Gurudev was dancing with the chiefs, in Kente, all of it. It was very beautiful, very nice. It's a memory that would never be forgotten. Okay. So maybe I should quickly round up. I will give you one or two more points where Gurudev impacted seriously the preaching. What is his vision? Gurudev had a vision for Africa. Like Mataji was saying, he already had this vision of schools, of feeding the poor, he had it. And Gurudev used to tell us, our community should be such that people should see us see the Hare Krishna community as a place they can go for relief. Through the counseling that we're giving, through the food distribution, and through many other activities we're doing, that people should see us as a group they can depend on in terms of their challenges. The picture we're painting nowadays is like we're beggars. That is not the vision of Gurudev for Africa. His vision is not that of dependency. It is of self-sufficiency. And he was every now and then hammering that in our ears. So, of course, another evidence of that is the cottage industries spearheaded by Gita Govinda. When Gita Govinda Prabhu left Nigeria, it's like the whole yatra has blooped. Yeah. Gita Govinda Prabhu leaving was like the whole yatra blooped, because he was actually helping to create that self-sufficiency in many ways. Our own incense produced, our own Medanga, first person to even produce satellite dish, etc. And all that was coming from, if you listen to him yesterday, he said when he got to Lagos and he did that incense thing, he went to Gurudev and asked, what should be my service? And Gurudev said, you will be the director of special services. That is the specialty of Gurudev. He recognizes in everyone his nature and at the same immediately engage you that way. He does not force everybody go out on Sankirtan. Go. He just recognizes your talent and immediately wants to engage you that way. It does not frustrate anybody by trying to make everyone uniform in one service, and then people get frustrated. Right from the beginning, Gurudev told him, you become the director of special service. And whatever he needed, Gurudev was always giving him the assistance to do that. But then you can imagine when Gurudev was no longer physically present most of the time, Gita Govinda Prabhu was frustrated. He had to leave. So let me round up. Of course, I have a lot I put down here, but I don't. Maybe Ashana Prabhu is there waiting to speak. So last thing I would like to say, I'd like to add, is Gurudev's method. What is his method? What particular method did he have? Gurudev was very respectful. He was engaging. He engaged people, you know, you don't feel like leaving him. And it was transformative. You come in contact with him and you know that your life is not going to be the same again. All that due to his being very respectful towards everybody. So I think this is an opportunity for us while we're trying to make recollections on how Krishna consciousness started. It's an opportunity for us to remember what was happening then and what is not happening now. I mean, I'd wanted to go step by step, you know, the way some of these temples were open, but I don't want to also dominate, you know, the whole show. But if you try to recollect how every temple came into existence, you will find how much Gurudev sacrificed, how much Gurudev was traveling from Nigeria to Ghana by road most of the time. Most of the time. I'll relate one last experience and then I'll stop. So once we had a festival in Warri, and devotees left. The first batch of devotees, they left in the bus, or the buses have left. I was to drive along with Guru in his car. On the way, the devotees had accident. And so back and forth, hospital, etc., to take care of the devotees that were wounded. That journey took us several hours. We got to Bini very late at night, around 10 p.m., because of what happened on the road. When we got to the temple, I was actually thinking how I needed rest. Just need to go, you know, I was tired. And I was expecting that Gurudev would just walk to his ashram and he would go and take a shower and rest. I was surprised. Gurudev went to the temple room and started a kirtan. I cried. I wept. Because I couldn't just believe. How could he suffer all this inconvenience on the road for many hours? And now he's here again dancing. I just stood in a corner looking at him. What sacrifice. But because Gurudev wanted to revive the mood, he forgot about his own, you know, convenience. He wanted to revive the mood of the devotees because they had been in an accident. And he wanted to put them in, you know, proper mood. He started dancing at 10 p.m. So talking about sacrifice, he wasn't traveling just for traveling's sake. He was traveling to minister to devotees and to have a deep connection, you know, to make those who have given their life to Krishna consciousness be always motivated and enthused. Okay, like I said, I don't want to dominate the talk. There's a whole lot of experience that we can share. But maybe by tomorrow, when we'll have to round up, I can come up with some of the things I left out. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jai. Thank you so much. It's Grace Shima Varaha Acharya Prabhu. Wonderful sharing. It's so beautiful to hear you share, but it's also a bit sad. Hearing from you and knowing what's going on today. But I believe that even though we might have failed in some areas in pursuing devotional service, but failing is not the same as failure. So we are not failures. We still have opportunity to do the right thing. And we pray and hope that we will be able to do the right thing. But thank you so much for sharing. His Grace Srivas Vanachari has his hand up. Prabhu, would you please hear me unmute? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Varahaji, Prabhu, thank you very much for touching on this very important subject matter of Gurudev's impact on the preaching in West Africa. I just wanted to add a few more important points to what you just said. In Ghana, Gurudev was loved by the Ahmadiyya mission. The head, they called him the Amir of Ahmadiyya, and Haji Molvi Wahab Adam, was like a disciple to Bhakti Maharaj. He would allow Bhakti Maharaj to preach in the mosque. I've gone with Maharaj one or twice to be with him when he preached to the Ahmadiyya Muslim mission headquarters. In fact, when we were to open Gurudev's Samadhi in Ghana, Molvi Wahab Adam, the head of the Ahmadiyya mission, he was there to participate in the inauguration of Gurudev's Samadhi, because he felt so bonded with Bhakti Maharaj that when he heard that Maharaj had passed away, he actually shed some tears. When I went to inform him that Guru Maharaj had left us, there was tears in his eyes. And he told me that anything concerning Maharaj, any ritual, any activity, we should not forget to include him. And so when we informed, when the Samadhi was completed, and we're going to have it open, I think 2009, he came and participated in the opening of Samadhi of Guru Maharaj. He made a very beautiful speech. Also, besides President Rawlings, who actually wanted Guru Maharaj to become his personal advisor, because he has seen Guru Maharaj on television, and he so fell in love with him that he ordered that video, that program, to be played 3 consecutive times on the national television, to the degree that the Minister of Information, under which the broadcasting operates, was uncomfortable. Why they're repeating this Hare Krishna program again and again and again? So he called the director of TV and said, "Gentlemen, what's wrong with you? Isn't it the only thing you have on TV? Why are you showing the Hare Krishna program again and again and again?" And he said, your boss ordered me. He said, who is my boss? He said, President Jerry John Rawlings. And then his telephone went silent. He couldn't say a word. Then we have Otumfuo Opokunwari the first, the Ashanti Hini. Actually, he wanted to make Guru Maharaj a chief in the Ashanti kingdom. But it didn't happen before Guru Maharaj left. He had visited him. The Opokunwari gave him a very special treatment. I think Hemavati Mataji was there. At that time, Ananta Rupa was the president in Kumasi. I was personally with Guru Maharaj. He had a lengthy discussion because that Opokunwari Ashanti Hini was a very learned personality. I think he was a lawyer, a judge or something. They had a long discussion. And then he said, I will want you to become a chief in my kingdom. But then I think that was 2002 or 2003, and then 2 years after Guru Maharaj left. So it didn't happen. Then we have the director of prisons, Director General of Prisons, Dr. Richard Kunyire. Now he's a parliamentarian. I just met him a few days ago on a flight to the north. And the whole period of our flight, we were discussing about Guru Maharaj. The other passengers were wondering, where does this man know this Hare Krishna man? But we're just talking about Guru Maharaj throughout the flight. And then the IGP, Inspector General of Police, met Guru Maharaj in his office. He knelt down before Guru Maharaj and said, Guru Maharaj, he said, Bhatitita Maharaj, please bless me, because this job is very, very tough. And I need spiritualists like you to help us. I was a witness. The Gamache, Guru Maharaj visited the Gamache, the king of Accra, and he was so happy to receive him. And many more of these things happened. So I just wanted to buttress your point that Guru Maharaj's style of preaching, his approach, his method is far, far way ahead. And I will conclude by saying that Chandramoli Maharaj chastised me very heavily. One time he met me in Mayapur, and he asked me, how's the preaching going in Ghana? I said, Maharaj, we are trying to follow the footsteps of Guru Maharaj. He said, nonsense. He said, can you follow the footsteps of Bhakti Tita Maharaj? I said, sorry, Maharaj, we are trying to follow. He said, nonsense, you cannot even try. Then I said, so I had to start thinking very fast how to answer his question. Then I said, Maharaj, we are trying to follow his instructions. And he said, better. He said, better. He said, Bhakti Tita Maharaj was beyond his time. He said, even we, his God brothers, we could not understand him. What to speak of disciples? He said, we could not understand him. Whatever he was doing, we thought he was doing something strange. But actually, he was far beyond us. And he was doing things that would bring up the preaching. And he said, the world has lost a gem of a preacher. And he said, you Srivas, don't ever say you are following the footsteps of Bhakti Tita Maharaj. You can only follow his instructions. So I also wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for sharing this. His grace Srivas Dasvanachari. This is wonderful, 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 wonderful. We have His Grace, Shriman Mukunda, Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
It was very wonderful hearing from Varaha Prabhuji. I think I only met him when I returned to Africa. Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj wanted me to see the results and the fruits of all of the early pioneering. And I came to stay in Benin Temple. And I think you were president there for some time, if I remember.
Ibadan.
Ibadan.
Yeah, you came to Ibadan. Yes.
Yes. So I have fond memories of that. But I wanted to mention that sometimes we see many external changes in the form of how our movement may move. Sometimes temples may go down, sometimes they may go up. But we should never think that the value of what happened is somehow lost. Think about how many people's hearts were touched by Maharaj. Think of yourself, think how many people you've touched because Maharaj touched you. Bhakti is a very rare thing. It's not something that's so easy for so many people to get. And the amount of people's hearts were touched who entered the path of Bhakti, and in some future life they will develop. These are very amazing things because Bhakti is extremely rare. And for that much potency to have manifested on a whole continent, because we're talking about the genesis of West Africa, how much Maharaj influenced Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, so many places. How many hearts were touched, and those people's hearts being touched, now touching other people's hearts. So to think about the rarity of Bhakti, it appears once in a day of Brahma, Mahaprabhu appears, and he gives the highest form of prema. That thing, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj spread to so many hearts in some way, form, or fashion. So even though sometimes the external appearance of the movement may go up and down, the internal reality of how many hearts it touched can never be lost.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this important gem with us, His Grace SRIMAN Mukunda Prabhu. To those of you who are like older devotees, Mukunda Prabhu is the same as Ekendra Prabhu. So we use the names interchangeably from time to time. But thank you so much. We'll go to, I think there is one hand up, yes. And then we will have to switch to ARCANA Prabhu, who is going to be the last speaker for today, because we've been here for 2 and some hours now. So, Prabhuji, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I accept my humble obeisances.
Hare
I'm so blessed to hear so many wonderful leaders from my fathers. Oh my God, right, my senior father, who the trainers, and it even tells that when you look even into the Black Lotus, there's something, just a small amount of nectar in the Black Lotus book. There's more in the brain of these our fathers, which were not accounted in the Black Lotus. When my father, His Grace Holiness Chivas Vanacharya, was speaking, he did mention Wahab Adams, the Hamadia person. I remember when I was transferring to Kumasi as the president over there, and he paved the way that all the final year students in Eastern philosophy, Eastern religious faculty, all of them have to come to the temple to study Bhagavad Gita before their graduation. And I thought of just adding that to that. Thank you.
Very well.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Prabhuji. Well, with that being said, dear devotees, we apologize, but we're still going to ask you to hang on to your seats. We still have one more speaker for the day, and that is His Grace ARCANA Prabhu. And I must say, I'm fortunate to have come to know this devotee, ARCANA Prabhu. When I first joined devotional service, he was very active devotee, and I remember, well, we can't go too deep into the details, but I remember one time in my early days as a devotee, when I was in Kumasi at the time, His Grace ARCANA PRABHU took us, a few devotees in Kumasi, to Sunyani, where we have a particular temple there. And as we speak, there is some sort of a land dispute on that piece of land. And this land was acquired by Gurudev and what was championed by ARCANA PRABHU himself. And ARCANA PRABHU was at the time one of the sannyas candidates that Gurudev was targeting. Gurudev was always targeting people, you know. He was one of such. But here he is, just like Gita Govinda Prabhu was saying, even though he was targeted, but he himself was not like really ready for it. So there are no pretensions in spiritual life. Like what was the name? SRIMAN VARAHA Prabhu just said, Gurudev likes to engage people in the way they see fit. But sometimes he encourages. So ARCANA PRABHU is here, and ARCANA PRABHU, please, you may unmute, and then you share your experiences in devotional service, especially in Ghana with us. Hare Krishna, and thank you for being here.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Hare Krishna to gurus, Prabhus, and Matajis. My humble obeisance to all of you. Yes, I am actually very humble with all what I have heard today, even since the whole program started. In fact, I've seen that most of these devotees sacrifice their life so much, and most of them are like international devotees who actually preach in different countries. But I only have the privilege only to visit outside Ghana, Togo, to SRIMAN VARAHA PRABHU. All my services is in Ghana. So it's like I am like a local champion. When even I am in the temple, in case I've not stepped out from the temple, like I will become like a Ghanaian guru, because I have been in almost all the temples in Ghana, and also helped to establish some of these temples. So to start with, the genesis of Hare Krishna in West Africa, our own experience. I would like to start with from my own home. I live at Odoko, and Odoko is very close to official town where the temple is. And in fact, I'm living with my parents. My father is a traditionalist. He poured libation, and he believed in Assemblies. But my mother is an Orthodox Christian. So he's the one who trained me from the early beginning to become a Christian. So in the early beginning, I was baptized into the Presbyterian Church. And I follow my mother to church from time to time, but actually I was not enjoying my life in the Presbyterian Church. Anytime I go to church, just a little time, I'll be sleeping. So actually I'm not enjoying my Christian life. And I'm not also interested in his faith. So actually, right, there's God. God Bible said, it is only a fool. Heart, oh God. I know there is God, but at that time, I don't have any touch with him. So I decided that I have to shop for God for myself. I have to look for God. So luckily, I had a friend who led me to a man at Matahiku, a suburb in Iraq. And this man have a group, a fellowship. He has disciples under them whom he trained. So I joined them. So it's an institute. It's called Amen Institute of Theosophy. So at that time, we are adopted religion. We read a lot of Emmanuel books. And at that time, at that very period, the Hare Krishna's people came in the country, and they also visited X at Mataiko. The very day they visited around. So later on, the Hare Krishna people also threw invitation to the group. But that very day, I also around. So we visited the Hare Krishna temple at Otoko official town. And when we came to the temple, I saw Ekindra Prabhu Namukunda, and I saw Jiva Mahamantra Prabhu, is it Shanta Maharaja? Yes. So I saw very devotee. Ekindra Prabhu was the first to address it. Oh, first, I think they actually welcome us with Prashadam. They serve us very nice Prashadam before we went into the temple hall. And Ekindra Prabhu was the first to address us. And then Mahamantra Prabhu was the second. And then Jiva Prabhu was the third to address us. And in fact, all of them, their speech is very short, very brief, but there is an impact in their speech. So in fact, from that day on, I started developing interest in the Hare Krishna movement. So while I am under my master at Mataiko, Rabboni Rabbi, I already have conscious books. So I bought the Bhagavad Gita and the Sense of Self I read for myself. But actually, anytime I read the Bhagavad Gita, I don't understand. And in fact, most of the pictures inside it even frighten me. But the Science of Self-Realization, when I read that book, in fact, I love it. I got touched. I feel good for reading that very book. So later on, I met the devotees in town on Harinam Sankirtan, and I bought some books from them. And I bought also a recorder, a tape recorder from them. And in fact, that very tape recorder, anytime I play that recorder, in fact, it inspired me and it gingered me on. And the music, I'm not very good a musician, but I would try to sing, and especially the words that I eat is very good. And in fact, that is what I will have more love for the Hare Krishna. He said, the musician said, I have been trying all my life to understand things by this world we are going. Do you know the reasons, brother? Please, you let me know, because I can wait no more. And my time is almost gone. Holy hope, holy faith is all I have. Can find the way, can find the way. If you think that happiness means to buy a gold ring. Once you get there, you may look for something else. Can't find the way. Can't find the way. So anytime I pray this music, in fact, it gingered me. And if you listen carefully to the words in the music, you'll find out that the musician wants to say he's trying all his life to understand the reasons why we are in this world and where we are going next. He said, do you know the reasons, brother? Say, if you know, let me know, because I cannot wait no more. And only hope and faith is only what I have. So if you think that happiness is when you get money or when you get married, when you have those things, you look for something else. So I realized that real life is not in money. It is not in marriage. But there is something in life that man must look for. So actually, this music actually gingered and inspired me a lot. So actually, I was with my master, and in fact, I grown more or less reading the Hare Krishna book. So it reached a time I decided I'll not go to my master again, and I would like to read my books. So it reached a time I said, okay, the Bhagavad Gita I used to read, I don't understand. So let me visit the temple because we are very close. So Doko and official time is very, very close. So let me visit the temple myself to have a chat with the devotees. So when I stepped into the temple for the first time, I met Prabhu, Bhakta initiated Mutukesh, and then Bhatta Solomon also initiated Satyaki. In fact, he welcomed me very well. Mutukesh was so friendly. He was able to talk to me, explain things to me, and I understand when I ask questions. Most of his answers are very convincing. And Satyaki is also very good. He actually welcomed me with prashadam. And a couple of times I come to the same thing. So I came to the temple, I think, only 4 times. Then I decided, no, this PRABHU, let me join them. So I took a decision to join them. So the first person I inform is my father. But my father also knows that I am someone who's always very quiet and I'm not very happy in the house. So when he look at me, he said, well, whatever you do and you will be happy, you can go on and do it. But I realized that I can't inform my mother because my mother loved me so dearly. So if I inform me, he will not allow me to leave. So one day when my father is already gone to work, my mother is not in the house, and I took decision and then I packed my everything into my box, a trunk, a big trunk, and then I carry it into the temple. And if when I read the temple, they would say, oh, what? Your items are too much. Why? So much items like this, it's not good. You should have you. I said, well, I've already come with it. I can't send them back, so let it be here. So I stayed in the temple and with PRABHU. I think at that time, Bhatipad has initiated 9 devotees. Maybe when I can remember, we have Jiva PRABHU, Mahamanta PRABHU, Lakshmi Pati PRABHU, Ahimsa PRABHU, Ekat PRABHU, Jnanadas PRABHU. I think there are 9, but maybe this is what I can remember. So they were all in the temple by then. So I was trained in the Bhatta. They brought us through by Sugar Dave. Sugar Dave Goswami. He trained us 2 weeks. We are about 5 Baltics. He trained us, and then we are all qualified. So then we have to stand Sankirtan. And I was also trained on Sankirtan by Prabhu Janadas for 2 days. And then ACAR Prabhu also trained me for another 2 days. So I am okay already. With time, I'm reading the Bibles myself. So I already get an understanding what to preach. Because following them, when they preach, I hear them and I understand a little thing to say when I go on my own. So I started Sankirtan, and very soon I became so good in Sankirtan. And I can tell you, when I was in Accra, there is no place that my 2 legs has not covered. And there's no ministries I have ever not entered in Accra. So one day, even Srila Krishnappa came into the country and he has something to do at the ministries. When you enter every office, this the Brother John, by that time I was not initiated, so I was Brother John. Brother John has been here, Brother John has been here, Brother John has been here. So in fact, from that day on, Krishnappa took love for me. Yes. And we were serving in that way. My friend Butikesh, he traveled to Takradi, and by that time, Jiva Prabhu was president there. So Jiva Prabhu, Butikesh Prabhu came from Takradi at that time, and he told me that he would like to go with me to Takradi because the place is very nice. So you can go with me. And I said, okay, we will go. So actually, I went to Takradi with H. Prabhu without informing the temple president. By that time, Bhakta Augustine initiated us Prabhu. He was the temple president. In fact, he was very furious. He was very angry with Butikesh, and Prabhu she sent me down. But because I showed some interest in Takradi, in fact, they were able to dissolve the impasse very peacefully. So I was in the Takradi, and I was also sitting there as a Sankirtan devotee. So we were serving in Takradi for some time, and then Guru Dev came into the country, and then he sent prophets to by then the membership in Nkoko, they were those who were running the Nkoko temple. So Krishnappa sent eggs there, and we were headed by Lomasha Prabhu, myself, Ramanuja, and Nandu Prabhu. So we were in Nkoko. In Nkoko, Sankirtan is not so much good. So what we do is we go on Harinam. Every day Harinam, every day Harinam. It is only the time that's when we don't go on Harinam, Sankirtan, then we go on individual Sankirtan. So in Nkoko, and the Guru Dev came back to the Ghana again, and then he asked me to stay in Accra. So I came back to I think this I came back to Accra. Avatar has been removed, and Mahamantra was temple president. So I came and served under Mahamantra, and I was his Sankirtan leader by then. And then we went in the States, and he asked me to go to Sunyani. He first asked me whether I can go to Sunyani, and I don't know Sunyani. He said I should ask for anybody they can show me so that I should go there and preach. So actually, I have a member in town, a friend in town. I contacted him that, oh, I have been told to go to Sunyani to preach, but I don't know anybody there. Immediately, he told me that he has a brother, a senior brother working in Sunyani, who is working with the town planning, and he's staying in a small village near Sunyani called Fiapre. So he gave me a note so that when I go to Sunyani, I will relax. When I prepare myself, my books, my everything to go. Actually, Muhammad Prabhu was very pleased that I should leave. But it is Opananda who told me so. He also respected Prabhu Opananda very well. So actually, he has to allow me to go. So I left Accra with Prabhu Adipurusha. May he so rest in peace. Just passed on to Sunyani. And when we reached Sunyani by 4 p.m. And we display our books and paraphernalia in front of UTC store. And then we play Ndanga and then Ketan, we pray Ketan, and within a short possible time, people assembled around us. And I know I know how to speak Accra language more, but I'm not very fluent in the Tree language. So I asked Adipurusha to preach. But Adipurusha is like a stammerer, not preach. So when I asked him to preach, I realized that the crowd is going. So I decided, okay, I myself will preach. So I saw my own broken tree. But if I do the trick, the people know that what I wanted to say, despite the fact that I cannot express myself, at least they can understand me. So in fact, we're able to sell so much paraphernalia and books. We pray another Ketan, people gathered again. We were able to make a lot of distribution. And now it is night. We have to find our way out. So within the crowd, yes, that time there was a man called Mr. Menu. He's now initiated Akura dance. He was in the crowd. He bought a lot of books from X. Already, he was also in a sister society called Rohini Sasanji, and he is also a vegetarian. So he was the one I contacted and asked of one man called Mr. Opoku, who is working with town planning, because we are looking for him, because we have to lodge with him. Then he said, oh, he also has a friend who is also working town planning. So he will contact him. So the friend was also right away in our gathering. So he contacted him and he said, oh, I know that Mr. Puku. I know where he stays. So we don't have any problem. So that very day, he took us to the house of Mr. Puku. So in fact, immediately I handed the note by his junior brother to him. He said, oh, James, you don't have any problems. You are welcome to my house. So in fact, he gave us a one room, myself and Abdi Purusha to stay. And from ever then, he was feeding eggs morning and evening. So we are with Mr. Poko for some time. I realized that, oh, if we have to stay in this very village, our image will not be so good because it is a village. And where we are, you know, the houses are like a mount house. So normally we take transport to Sunyani to preach all the time. So here we can't invite anybody. You can't do anything here. So I decided we have to look for a better place. So I suggested it to that the motor rider who took it. And then he said, oh, Mr. Menu, who is his friend, he has just premises, a flat. So It's a very good place, so we can contact him. So actually, I came early in the morning to contact Mr. Menu. Immediately, I spoke to him, no hesitate, he just accepted eggs. And I can tell you, he and the family are already vegetarians. They welcome egg, give one again, myself and Adi Rusha to stay in the same room we used to have our devotees, the morning programs and evening programs. So we are staying with the menu, then I realized that no, for us to make an impact over here, we have to start classes, Bhagavad Gita classes. So we inform the school. There is a school in Sunyani called Training and Full Secondary School. So we asked permission from them and they gave us one of the classes to be holding classes, Bhagavad Gita classes on Sundays. So we started Bhagavad Gita classes on Sunday. But not to forget, before I left to Sunyani, Opananda told me one thing. He said, look, when you go to Sunyani, make sure that you meet opinion leaders, those who are more concerned. Meet them. Make sure you meet the lawyers, meet the and the civil authorities. Make sure. And when you're able to, so actually, when they are those people, I get, I mean, I have lawyers, so many lawyers, my lists. I have so many opinion leaders on my lists. So after I have to come back to and when I gave my report to Ananda Prabhu, he was so high. And then he said, to go to Sunyani.
Well, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Our speaker was having connectivity issues. His bandwidth was kind of low. That is why we turned off his video just to relieve him of some of the load. But we lost him. We hope he can rejoin. But
I think his internet is weak.
Yes, the internet is weak. Low bandwidth. While we try to wait for his re-entry, we would also like to find out from devotees. If devotees do have any questions, reflections on what has been shared so far, especially today. If anyone has questions or reflections to ask or to share, please, you may unmute and go ahead and ask or to share.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I just have a question. I think it was being discussed when Varaha Prabhu was talking, but I'm not sure. I just wanted to get an idea of the timeline. I was at Lagos Temple, I think, for one of Kirtanananda's visits. Kara was the president. I think it was 83. It could have been 84. I'm not exactly sure. But I think it was that time when that picture that had everybody was sitting in front of the temple, and there was this massive picture that was taken with Kirtanananda Prabhu, Kirtananda Maharaj in the front. Does anybody remember what time that was? The reason I wasn't in that picture is because I had to go into Lagos to get some containers so that they could pack prasadam for him to travel with. So I went with somebody that also didn't end up in that photograph, but I just wanted to figure out what time that was.
That was 85.
85.
85, yeah.
No, it was 84.
Really?
Yes, 84.
Okay, maybe.
It was 84 because I remember after that I left
Okay.
So I was not in Nigeria in 85.
Okay.
Okay. So 84.
Mhm. Is it not a year? That same year, that was when the accident happened. Is it?
You mean the one by the time Maharaj was involved in? You mean that accident? That auto accident?
One auto accident that we lost one of our members who was Yeshoda may know Jetile's husband.
Paramatma. That was back in Ilupeju. That was not in.
No, that was in because they had started baking vegetable pies.
Restaurant. That was in Ilupeju.
No,
it was in Ibadan. He was transferred to Ibadan when we were starting the restaurant. They went to the market to mile 12 to buy burger, and on the way back,
he left.
Gurudas Prabhu, they had an accident, he died.
Okay.
That was 85.
That was 85?
Yes.
85.
I remember Mother Jatila. I remember that they did bake pies. That was one of the things that I was going there for. At the temple, they had like a little, it wasn't a cafe or a restaurant, but it was a little, like a booth that they had within the temple on the second floor that you could get things.
All right. Mother Shri Upanishad, do you have something to ask or to share, please?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my pranams. All glories to all the wonderful, wonderful devotees, Vaishnavas. I have a picture that Maharaj gifted me years ago. And it's a picture. I sent it to you on WhatsApp, Sahadev. You should have it in your and it's the picture of the drama. I guess the drama club, VARAHA, Prabhu. You would probably be familiar with this picture. It's about 30 years old or more. Since we were speaking of pictures, I just thought about that one, and I sent you a picture of it.
Did you send it to me directly, personally?
I sent it to you on WhatsApp.
Okay, let me check.
Yes.
Yes, I've seen it. All right, so let me share it. Before Mother Gail, please, you may unmute and go ahead to ask your question while I try to share these photos.
I'm wondering what contributes that drastic change in teaching in Nigeria.
Your voice is not clear enough, Mother Gail.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe because I'm driving here.
Oh, you're driving. All right. It seems it's a little difficult for Mother Gail's voice to come through. So we're going to try to go over these photos so Mother Shri Upanishad may tell us more about these photos. So,
I guess what I'm saying is VARAHA, SRIMAN VARAHA could probably expound on that photo because he was in it.
Yeah. Let me see.
I think
it would have been easier to download and share, but let's see. Can you see? Let me make it a little bigger.
Holy shit.
This is Worry Temple.
This Worry, yeah.
Yeah, and that was 1987. 1987, 88.
That's lots of devotees.
I have the pictures.
That was a big festival that they would hold where all the different temples would come together. This is the year that we came back also to visit. And Ganesham, which is a Bengali devotee, Kirtaniya, and Rohini Nandan Prabhu, we all came to visit that year. And that was the time we went around and visited the temples. Then this was the big festival that was held. And this is what I was mentioning. There were so many devotees initiated at this festival.
So I sent you more pictures too, Prabhu.
Yes, we'll go to the next and see.
See if it's a better.
Actually, in that picture, I think we're in there. I think we're standing next to Maharaj.
Yeah.
Rohini Nandan and
Jai.
I'm the one who's like Krishna up there with crown.
And I think Yamuna said that he was a baby boy. He was about 2 years old, maybe 6 months or something like that.
1 year old. He was 1 year old.
Yeah.
That was 1988.
Jai Haribol devotees. I have the picture. Hare Krishna.
Hey, Isho, if you could send me that picture, just send it to me on WhatsApp.
I sure will, Prabhu. Haribol.
Actually, I shared these pictures with the person who was writing the books to be put in the Black Lotus, but he didn't put them in it. And he gave all the pictures back to me.
Oh.
Oh, you mean Satyaraj Prabhu?
Yes, Satyaraj. I shared all these pictures with him.
Yeah, Haribol. Hare Krishna, Mukunda Prabhu. I would love to get you a copy of the picture. I can probably do that, you know.
Yeah, this is much better, Claire.
Yeah.
Is that a little better? Yeah.
Yeah. Huge number.
Yeah, this is much better. Okay.
Jai Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Well, I think we can try to run it up for today, but I have one quick question. And that quick question is, actually that question was for ARCANA Prabhu, but it's not here. Because, of course, I was here in the States when Gurudev left his body. And I heard that when ARCANA Prabhu heard of Gurudev's passing, he was crying and weeping like, excuse me, say, like a child. And he was bumping his head against the wall, you know, just like the Gianello song, if you read the lyrics. Yes, so I just wanted to find out from him, why was he doing that? I mean, we all know that we all have some love for Gurudev. And so his departure certainly is a big blow. But what made him have that feeling? But since he's not here, I would like to ask SRIMAN VARAHA Acharya Prabhu. With all that you experienced with Guru, and how he started the devotional service with you all in West Africa, and how he was so magnetically powerful, connecting people from all walks of life. I mean, we know that we cannot imitate the Guru, but at least we saw what he did, how he did it. Why is it that we are unable to emulate him, to try to have that same feeling and give such understanding to people in general that this is what these people stand for. This is what Hare Krishna stands for. It seems that feeling is dying or probably dead. So what did we lose or what did we miss? And what can we possibly do to regain that energy, trust, and feeling of the society? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is a very tough question you're asking. If I say I know what we can do, that is be very difficult for me to say. But I can tell you how we got to where we are now. It's a very unfortunate situation. Just like 1982, there was some crisis and people wanted to take over Iskcon. 1987, I think thereabout, 1987, another 5 years after. Actually, from 82 to 87, it was like an explosion. It's like Hare Krishna explosion in West Africa and from Nigeria. Then 87, there was this crisis. And this crisis did not start from Nigeria. It's actually a ripple effect of what was happening in the international scene, like Makaranta Prabhu said yesterday. And that started in 1985 when the guru started falling down. So, of course, Bhakti Maharaj became guru in 1986. But by that time, there already some disaffection from Prabhupada disciples towards the Zona Acharyas. And that started crippling into many areas. Of course, we were kind of shielded. We were not very much affected, but later on it came. Sorry, I don't know whether it's right for me to mention names. There were two Iskcon gurus who were kind of instrumental to some negativity that started entering into West Africa. Maybe three of them. So I don't know whether it's right to mention names.
Please do not mention names.
I don't want to mention names.
Yes.
So these three gurus actually did a lot to bring some negative feelings into devotees. And it got to a climax in 1988 when some devotees went and published something very, very negative about Gurudev in the newspaper. And I had to come and fight to, redeem Guru's name. Even though I was in Ibadan, but I had to come to Lagos and we had to follow up those articles and try to see how to bring it down and how to get a rejoinder, a proper rejoinder. So it got to that point. And from that moment onward, first is that devotees' devotion got affected. Their conviction, their devotion got affected. Some bad publicity was going on. And you could imagine if it got to the point of being published in the newspaper. So you could imagine the kind of impact that it was already having on devotees' lives. So that was where it started. And another thing that happened, during that time, Gurudev left Nigeria, and for about 6 years, he did not visit. And those 6 years actually was also another period when things really went down. I think he came back in 1999. And I think maybe it was from 1993. He was no longer visiting because of all those machinations going on against him. So he came back in 1999. I was already freed from the prison in Sierra Leone. And he would not even go to Nigeria directly. He went to Ghana. And he asked me to go to Nigeria and observe what was happening, visit all the temples, and give him a report. And of course, I did that. That was when I recommended that he should take over the Kirikiri temple, Arjun Prabhu's temple. Those who were the authorities in Lagos at that time were, preventing Gurudev to accept that offer. But when I got there and I saw that all the devotees were actually Gurudev's disciples, And I was wondering why on earth would we discriminate against them? So anyway, Gurudev came, he moved there, he gave a speech and accepted the temple. But unfortunately, it never really took place because the authority in Lagos at that time didn't want that. And they never really accepted the place. But then the turn of event, the tide of event was that they lost their temple and they had to go and squat in that temple. They refused and they rejected. So these are some of those things that actually crippled the devotion of many devotees. They felt very bad. So the loss of the temple and many things, negativity entered, into the yatra. Negativity entered, Right. So I think that is some of the reasons. But how we can come back, maybe some of the sages who are here can help us.
I want to relate something about what you just said. When many a times, myself, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj and myself, we went to the Nigerian embassy here to get visa so that he can come to Nigeria. They refused. So all the 6 years that you said he couldn't come to Nigeria, we were trying as much as possible for him to get the visas. They wouldn't give him. So the last time we went to visit and we were waiting, and this young man who was the counselor, people told him we were not going to leave. These people said they were not going to leave until they see a big official. So he invited us. He's a young Hausa, man. And then he called us into his office. He locked the door and he said, "Do you know why we are not being given any visa?" And we said no. And first he said, "I'm going to narrate two things to you." He went to his drawer and he brought out a document. At that time, Cameroon and Nigeria were almost at war because of
Nakasi Peninsula.
Very good. You remember that. The peninsula. And sorry to say, the American government came to the Nigerian government that we will give you all the ammunitions to go and fight, and then we can. Anyway, it is sensitive. Yeah. What he showed us was sensitive. So they will fight, and the Nigerian government refused. We are not going to fight our neighbors. That is how Nigeria ceded that place to Cameroon to forego any fighting that would have occurred. And he said this was happening, and people thought there are people who are involved in this. And the word had come that maybe he is also preaching, but involved in that.
Yeah, I remember that.
So
I think
go ahead.
I think also at that time, I think VRAJALILA, so remember, my internet went out here, so I'm on my phone.
Okay.
But also, Maharaj had told us, I think it was 1987, when we returned from our last kind of preaching in Central Africa and everything, that he also wanted to put some focus on finishing what he felt he had started at the restaurant in DC in the urban communities of America. Because he had first sent me and VRAJALILA to Belize, then you and Yashoda went to Belize, and then when we all came back into America, he wanted to put some effort into developing the urban preaching in America. And that was the genesis of the Institute, basically. We started preaching at the universities and those sort of things. I think this is an interesting thing because I remember when you were going to the embassy with him, but you guys weren't talking about it when you came back. So perhaps Maharaj was thinking, since he could not get a visa, he would put the effort into starting the preaching there in America, which probably was Krishna's dream, because that was the genesis of the institute. So devotees.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I just realized that His Grace Achana Baba has been back, but
Yeah, my internet's going in and out because of the storm here.
yeah, I just realized that Achana Baba, Achana Prabhu has been here for quite some time, but the devotees were speaking, so we could not pause them. I see, Salika Prabhu, you have something to share, and then Achana Prabhu, we would humbly like you to turn back your microphone on and then round up what you were sharing with us, because we've been here much longer than expected, but you did not end your sharing. So Salika Prabhu, please, you may unmute, and then we'll go back to Achana Prabhu for him to round up.
Okay, thank you very much, Sadi Prabhu. Actually, I'm on transit, so I'm not really able to share my video. I will try to. I'm somewhere now which there is no even light at all. But I just wanted to correct one. I think in the last question you asked, SRIMAN VARAHA Prabhu, those absent years, I want to use that word, absent years, that Gurudev wasn't coming. I think it wasn't the early 90s, as Prabhu said, because maybe he missed up the years, because Gurudev was around 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, and he was not in 90 up to 96 during the Prabhupada centennial. Then 97, he didn't come, then he came again in 98. So those absentees were not in the early 90s, they were late 80s. At this event that he is talking about. So, but in 1991, Gurudev was around for the festival in Warri, and 93 was around. It was around in 93, and it was around in 94. So all of those early 90s, he was around. Those absent years were before those years. Before, and then of course, in the late 90s, he started coming a little bit less. He comes once in 6 months. Unlike how he was coming before twice, they're staying longer in West Africa. But his absent years were not, what I just wanted to reiterate is that his absent years were not the early 90s, because the early 90s he was actually coming in.
Okay, maybe you're right. I left Nigeria in 1988. I left 1988, and 89, 90, 91, 91, he came to Sierra Leone. I don't know whether I was in Nigeria. He came to Sierra Leone in 91.
Yeah, there was a festival in Warri in 1991.
Okay.
Then he came back in 1992.
Then between 91 and 1999, I don't know how many times he visited Nigeria, but 1999, when he sent me to Nigeria, he said he has been away for about 6 years. That's what he said.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, Madam Raj, please.
Yeah, just quickly, I just want to collaborate on that point with Maharaj, Shanta Maharaj, that Gurudev was cultivating someone in the Cameroon. I have letters of that correspondence, and probably that was happening simultaneously. The correspondence to Cameroon, and also with him having that desire to come back and just really offer some service to the urban community in America. So both things might have been happening around the same time.
Thank you for sharing that, Mother Raj and Shanta Maharaj, Sriman Varahacharya, and Salika Prabhu. Shri Achana Baba, please, you may continue with your sharing. And like we said, we've been here much longer than expected. Try to round up what you were sharing, please. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so I'm still on Sunyani.
Yes.
Yeah, there was one lawyer who I visit to preach to when, and this lawyer, anytime I go, he tell me he's very busy. So anything I thought I should talk to his secretary. When I talk to the secretary, When I go, he will always tell me he's very busy, very busy. I think for the third time, then he said, okay, he would like to hear from me. So he said he will only hear from me only 5 minutes. But actually, the lawyer is very interested. In fact, we spend more than minutes for talking. In fact, he asked very intelligent questions. That lawyer later become a devotee. He's got initiated from Krishna, and later he became a judge even in Sudan. And
yeah, that was Lawyer Kumi.
Keshava.
Lawyer Kumi Keshava, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
Yeah, so you may go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, you may go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it's lawyer Kesha. So I realized that the Okanda is like a devotee. I don't know what he saw about Sunyani when he instructed me to go there. And in fact, it's like everything is all by grace. We were able to get a 6 plots of land donated to us free. And that 6 plots is right away in town. But according to sources, the town planning, the land department, they saw that land as a small portion is waterlogged. So this all 6 plots of land, they decided that they will not give it to individual, cater it to an individual, but they will give this portion of land to a group or a society or a church. So when they said like that, there was one guy working at Lance who is a friend to Mr. Nakuro. So he came and said, this is the situation. So you people should apply because you movement, they want to give it to a group or a society. So apply, they will give it to us. As grace is working, at that time, people was my secretary. Immediately, we playing it. So what I want to say, because of grace, I saw that there was a grace following me. Because I realized later on that even when I went to the temple and visit Media Temple, there is a lot of thank of the system, Sunyani, because I only got Akura and his family, and then Mr. Poku and the family. Even Rameshwara, by that time, his father is the one who ended our classes. And his father comes with Rameshwara, very small boy. But later on, yes, I want to spend a little bit time and talk about Hari Chakra. Hari Chakra is one of the instrumental devotees, especially in Sunyani. Because when I did there are some unfinished work, people that I was not able to make them devotees. When Hari Chakra Prabhu went to that place, he was able to make all those people devotees. So let me come back to where I left. Yeah, so when after 1 month preaching in Sunyani, I have to come back to Accra to give my report to Opananda. When I came and read my account, go with, so in fact, Sunyani with me, we passed through Kumasi, we slept overnight, and every day we continued to Sunyani. And in fact, all those people on my contact list, I went around with Panda, and in fact, he was able to water down what I've already started. And in fact, I was so pleased. So he's the one even who gave this very preaching work in Sunyani to Krishna Part. And that very exploit in Sunyani alone, he made Krishna Part to love me so much. And I was even in Sunyani when I think by that time Mahamantra has been sent out, and Ganashan was the temple president at the Accra temple by then. And Krishnappa was about also to take Ganashan also out of the country. So I was in Sunyani as a neophyte devotee by then. And then Krishnappa invited me to come down to Accra, not knowing his intention to make me the temple president in Accra. In fact, I didn't like the idea because he himself told us time that it's meant for service, and especially the Accra temple president seat is always very hot. If you think it's meant for pressure, you are a liar, for it is always very hot. And I also have testified and witnessed that normally always there is a change. Somebody will come today as a temple president, tomorrow they have changing. So it's like that. So in fact, I don't like that idea. But I said, well, once the guru is to do it, I'll accept that very service. Right. So actually I started this. And in fact, one of the lowest moments in devotion is when I met the Accra temple. Actually, it reached a time, it's like I am struggling because we have so many people in the devotees in the temple, almost over 60 people at that time. And most of them are senior devotees. And in fact, you can't even do anything. You see, so some few young ones, those ones maybe you can rely on. So actually, there were two Matatis in the temple by then, Mother Jatila and Mother Kadama. And I think those who were supporting me locally, especially with their collections. And then Govinda also. Yes, Prabhu Govinda also. So I can say the whole temple, about 60 people, these three Sankirtan devotees were those people who were supporting me. Though before even Ganashan left, he introduced me to the Indian community, especially some of the life members. So they also support me. But you know, the temple, you also have to do something actually from the local, from inside. So at that time, my strength was so low because these three were only practically. So I realized that I am always struggling alone. So, and even at that time, there was something like a leadership struggle in the temple between the leadership of Prabhu Pandu and Prabhu Jiva. So Krishnappa sent Srivas to come and head the Accra temple. He said to become a regional secretary. So when Srivas came, I told I am expected to become a because it's like I'm struggling alone and I don't like it again. So for I told him that I'd like to resign so that if I'm ready to be there. So in fact, he also informed Krishnappa. Then they accepted my request. And so they sent me back to Sunyani again. So this time coming to Sunyani, he asked me also to preach in Kumasi. So I was preaching between Kumasi and Sunyani. And I think at that very time, there was, Hari Chakra was in Kumasi also preaching. And Hari Chakra, I always honor that very devotee. He's a very great devotee. He's like a Catholic. He's somebody who can easily drum people together. And at that time, too, the Ashantis, their own, especially when you can speak their language. So I was in Kumasi, but Hari Pressure have made so much impact in Kumasi by then. There are so many devotees, even who were coming to programs, and even some of them joined from Kumasi. And I saw that he has made so much impact. But because he's not properly trained, his association with women marriages by that time was too much. That is the area I disagree, but I will see that when we talk of service, he was the one who was in the service. Going to the Bible, he said, I send you, I say,
Hare Krishna. It seems we lost ARCANA Prabhu again. His internet probably is not helping. Well, I wish he's able to come back, and then we're also going to plead with him to try to round it up because, like I said, we've been here for more than 3 hours. So the devotees must be tired. But we're enjoying his sharing anyway. ARCANA Prabhu? He's here, but we cannot hear him. I had a question for him, but here we are. Well, dear devotees, if you may not break my head for bringing this to a close, I would humbly suggest to you all that we bring Sangha to a close because we've been here so long. And again, we have another round to go tomorrow by Sri Guru Krishna's grace. And hopefully, by tomorrow, ARCANA Prabhu may have better internet connection so that he will be able to share some few things he wanted to share that he couldn't share today. So with that being said, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our deepest appreciation to all our revered speakers for today, starting from Her Grace Mother VRAJALILA Devi, and then on to His Grace SRIMAN VARAHA Acharya, and then lastly but not the least, His Grace ARCANA Baba Prabhu. And to all the, of course, the senior devotees, His Holiness Shanta Maharaj has been here with us since day one, giving us his love, wisdom, and empowerment. His Grace Srivas Dasman Acharya has been here all the days, giving us his love, wisdom, and empowerment. Sriman Varaha Acharya, Mother VRAJALILA, Sriman Mukunda Prabhu. Oh my God. We can't thank you all enough. And my obeisances, we wish we could go on non-stop till thy kingdom come. But some of us, our intestines are crying. So we humbly requesting you all to unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our deepest appreciation for the opportunity to have this Sangha. Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna